This is the redemption arc for both of these teams. BDS going up against Oxygen, both of them trying to find that win on the international stage. Let's head over and see our teams.
Thanks, guys. Welcome back to the Gamers8 Esports Arena with me, Ian, and Fancy. We've already had one best of 3 of Siege live on this stage, and we've got another one coming right up. This is pretty epic, Fancy.
It's really epic أعزائي المشاهدين. بعد ما خلصنا من المباراة الأولى شفنا وش اللي ممكن يصير في الجروب الأول، لكن الآن بنروح الجروب بي على طول اللي بنشوف المباراة هذه بين فريقين كلنا عارفينهم، كلهم يعتبرون من أبطال العالم، متحمسين مرة للمباراة.
Fancy, a couple of people have reached out to me saying this stage is too good. There's no way it's real. It's got to be green screen. So can we just get a wide angle real quick? I just want to prove something. You ready?
Yeah.
Just people saying, is this real? It's real, baby. It's real. Fancy. It's hard to believe though. Is that nice?
Yeah, it's really nice. It's the most amazing stage I've ever been in, and it's an honor to be here, man.
Absolutely. All right. Are we ready to bring out our next 2 teams? The first one didn't make the last major in Siege, and now they are back on the big stage. Here they are. It's Oxygen! With a roster change, a strong run at this year's SI, and a brand new logo, this team is brimming with confidence.
وصلوا فريق أوكسجين إي سبورتس بعد ما ممكن ما كان أدائهم الأفضل في الميجر الأخير، لكن جايين اليوم يعوضون عن كل شيء سووه هنا عندنا في جيمرز 8 اللاند اوف هيروز مع لوجو الجديد مع تغير الراستر الجديد. خلينا نشوف وش ممكن يقدمون.
Now they actually lost their luggage on the way out here, but I know that Dream has told me in advance that he's got his lucky socks on, and I know that they're feeling very strong coming into this one.
والآن جاء أعزائي المشاهدين الوقت المناسب إننا نجيب الفريق الثاني معنا في هذه المباراة. أول مباراة معنا بتكون في جروب بي، لكن المباراة هذه بتكون جدا جدا مهمة، خصوصا ان الفائز منهم على طول راح يكون قدامه مباراة واحدة فقط انه يتأهل الى البلاي اوفز، فخلونا نشوف مين الفريق الثاني. أبطال السنة الماضية حاملين اللقب تيم BDS.
The fans out here, of course, are very aware of what this team is capable of, Fancy. You know, they came here last year, they took the title, and I've been chatting with them behind the scenes coming into this event, and they genuinely believe that they can do the back-to-back here and lift the trophy again.
ليش ما يقدرون انهم يكونون هم البطل في هذه السنة ايضا، خصوصا انه مو بس فازوا في افضل فريق واخذوا الكأس، هم بكل بساطة يعتبرون افضل روستر حاليا في عالم رينبو 6 سيج. لا ننسى انه حتى اللاعب شايكو هو الحاصل على MVP في السنة الماضية. حدث ولا حرج عن هذا الفريق.
All right, guys, you can go and take your seats and get ready for this best of 3. Best of luck, Oxygen. Best of luck, Team BDS. By all accounts, this is set to be an absolute banger. Should we throw over to our casters?
Let's do it. الآن أعزائي المشاهدين بنروح على طول عند المعلقين نجهز لكم المباراة الثانية اليوم على التوالي. حط ببالك إن الفائز بيكون قدامه خطوة واحدة فقط إنه يتوجه إلى البلاي أوفز. احنا عندنا 8 فرق الآن، بيبقى منهم 4 فقط. بالتوفيق لهم على طول مع المعلقين.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the Gamers8 Rainbow Six event for 2023. We're about to go live with our second match here on the main stream. And I've got a voice alongside me here that you guys have probably not heard in quite a few months. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
What's going on, everybody? It's Stokes. We're back.
Welcome back.
It's Blokes. We're going to be getting it down for Oxygen versus BDS, man. I'm happy to be back. Got married, got a house, doing a lot of big adult stuff, dude. But now it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty, the actual important things, I know. video games. We're going to get into it with Oxygen versus BDS, two fantastic rosters, one of which just made a recent name change, as we have Fish now on the roster for Oxygen, so definitely going to be looking into that to see how Oxygen does with this newfound face. And as for BDS, well, it's tried and true for them, as they are major winners and haven't really changed this roster up over the last year, and I mean, why would you?
Absolutely. Oxygen, of course, rebranding themselves as well coming into this event. So a fresh roster, a fresh brand package. Let's see if it makes up the difference and allows them to push themselves to new heights that we've not been able to see this team reach just yet. Of course, popping off recently, just about 6 months or so ago now, at SI, where they were able to make a top 3 finish, one of their best placements, really, of all time, if you look back at this team's very, very long and storied history. We're going to see if they can do one better here at Gamers8 and take down the champions from last year to start off the event. Zero, Dokkaebi, and Valkyrie are our first 3 bans. We got one more coming up here for BDS side, and then we're going live with the first round.
Really attacking the info game right here on Bank, and I mean, why wouldn't you? Especially with Zero and Dokkaebi coming out for the offense, going to make things a little bit more complicated, going to have to dedicate things more towards drones, but that also leaves Lion up, Valkyrie and Mira going to be the bans on defense, but that leaves a whole treasure trove of operators on the defense that have been highly volatile for a lot of offensive sets so far throughout this year of 2023, and a newfound face as well here at Gamers8 as we will have Fenrir.
Very slight target ban coming out there against Oxygen 2 on the Zero respect. We've seen Oxygen use Zero so often in the past. Definitely the team that tends to pick him up the most inside of North America, at least from my perspective on that one. So BDS probably capitalizing on that. And like you said, especially here on Bank as well, another map where we tend to see it picked quite often, specifically by Oxygen. Makes sense to ban him out here. Getting ourselves into the first round, though, Oxygen are also going to be on the attack. We'll have to deal with the lack of that operator right from the start of the game. Literally BDS on the defensive side. No surprises when it comes to their site choice as well. They're going right downstairs, and immediately we're going to see Fenrir deployed here. This makes perfect sense. Fenrir can block off all those accessible choke points, and of course make getting that initial entry or two, especially if you're going to try to play around hatches, quite difficult for the Oxygen roster.
Yes, indeed. A lot of interesting utility being brought by BDS. I'm excited to see how Fenrir works out here. I obviously haven't got to see too much gameplay of him. I've been a little busy, folks, so gonna be a fun day here for me at least, and hopefully for y'all at home as well as we jump into Bank finally with our first action phase. BDS keeping things pretty kosher, I'd say, across the board. All of the powerful ops that you would expect to see, especially on more of a roam strategy like this. We got a zombie in the hands of Shaiko. Who else would you want to have this? To be applying these Kiba barriers around open area, making sure that it's a little bit more difficult for Oxygen to try and dislodge them.
We are going to see those final reinforcements bait as well on the double hatches going down on the site, so not wanting to try and risk playing that out till later on into the round. Fish, his first entry for the team here, is going to waste no time taking that CEO control. We've already seen Oxygen move over towards stock side as well. It's a very quick control of the second floor being taken. Not that there would be much in the way of Oxygen to take this in the first place, as you guys were seeing a moment ago. BDS is only posturing for a little bit of aggression on the first floor. They did, like I said before, reinforce at least 1 out of 2 of those hatches there in open area. So could be trying to extend this play out a bit more, but now that this hatch is being breached, you'll almost certainly see those positions fall away over the next few seconds.
Yeah. Especially with the way that Oxygen has been working this map. I love the op selection here. No actual primary hard breach, just a secondary hard breachers, as they know the hatch play is going to be of utmost importance here. Newer's not even having to bring the secondary hard breach, as they do have Fish and Foxay dedicated to that. Skeleton Keel open things up, and this is where things are going to get a little nasty, a little dirty. Not very clean on the initial engagement from Newers, but a little fine too much. Yaga's going to jump in from the top side here. BDS are simply going to fall back. They want to maintain this man count into the low time here. They've already burnt away about half of round 1.
Doesn't get them any kills, but it is a very clean clear of that first floor by Oxygen. Still with over half the round to go, now just half the round to go. They're right along schedule here. So far Oxygen pulling off a great job of clearing things out. Now comes the difficult part though, is making that transition down into the actual basement. This is where we see teams on the attacking side fumble the most often, where it's going to require the greatest amount of team cohesion from Oxygen to move them forward. Past this point, though, things get a little bit more simple if they can find that excess point, whether it's going to be here on the usual double panel to get themselves into security, or by working around the hatches. Maybe an elevator drop, too, if things get really hairy here. But as you can see, BDS is spread out quite a bit. Oxygen just now starting to suss out the intel with their drone game downstairs. Yaga will strike first, however, as he moves forward and is able to take out Like Effect. That's also going to remove, of course, the Fenrir can no longer actively change which of those abilities are, or which which of those, utility pieces on the wall are activated at any given time here. Lem strikes back though, finds revenge against Fish, so it's a one and done for him to start himself off on this roster. And that's an annoying Kiva there that Dream has to work his way past. Does so without too much of an issue though, but as you can see, Oxygen are still working on trying to make that entry happen. And maybe going for the first plant attempt in a second. Dream as well snaps the jaws shut from behind as he eliminates Shaiko, completing that garage push.
One more smoke in the tank for Bride. Lems and Renshiro still alive and well as well. Not many of those Goyo canisters still exist. Oxygen should have removed those before this plant started going down. Last smoke grenade out. They will end up losing their garage player, but Foxy more than likely will be able to confirm this, and especially with Newers on this position up top. I mean, just such a strong spot right now for Oxygen. Lems, seriously, you need to win out this engagement. Very desperate here so far as they're not able to shut down the plant, and well, now they have to deal with the repercussions, especially with Newers. Yet again, pivotal spot, pivotal kill. It's going to be down to Renshiro, but it's going to be all for naught. And once that plant usually goes down inside of lockers, you don't really see a reclaim coming from the defense. It's just such a hard position to try and take back that mid floor, get rid of all of those ops, and then get that bomb defused.
Gold star to Newers there in the final 10 seconds, as well as inside of the post plant, for giving the necessary overwatch to A, allow that plant to go down in the first place, and then B, masterfully handle the rotates the BDS tried to go for in the final seconds of that round. Beautifully done, especially in dealing with Lems, who kind of got stuck on the rotation point going into small office there and ended up exposing himself a bit prematurely to pick up the last set of kills here. So Oxygen starting themselves out quite nicely with a 1-0 lead over the BDS roster.
I like how Oxygen keeps applying pressure to all portions of the defensive setup. We had that elevator player come in. Yeah, he gets picked up though. But we also have the the garage player come in as well. And even though they might not be getting the most kills, it is pulling BDS away from the main story of what's happening in the round, and that's what's making the job so easy for Oxygen, especially in that situation. You're really down to just Liquefact trying to run the smoke and try and prevent Foxay from finding a position in lockers through all of the other actual smoke where you can't see. It just makes it really, really muddy. So fantastic from Oxygen to constantly throwing curveballs at BDS, and we can see if they can potentially continue that in round 2.
BDS continue to move right along schedule as well. No retry down in the basement, despite the fact that it was a relatively close round up until those final few moments. That does mean we're going to see quite a bit of a shift in terms of operator selections from Auction, as it's a very different site. Most notably, the Old Course have already caught Foxay going over onto the Montaigne to hopefully give them a bit more of brute force capability to take that initial room or two needed to at least start moving on to the map. BDS, though, giving us a very similar look to things, especially in the fact that we still have that Fender being moved in, even though we go to a much more, open site now. Obviously, no pun intended there, but Newers already working his way through blue stairs, is about to boom in, probably with the rest of his teammates, as they have 2 players ready to move in through electrical as well. So we're going to see this as a conjoined movement to quickly take bottom square control and possibly even break room this early on as well. You can see Foxay wants to go for it. Barbed wire slowing him down right now. So that has put a hold on the plans temporarily, and Lems has this great cutoff on the inside of Archives that currently Oxygen can't really do anything about. Liquefact also sitting in the corner. I don't even know if he's been noticed yet. This may be a complete ninja play from Liquefact here. We'll be finding that out in a few moments.
If they trust this and don't drone top square, this is just completely on Oxygen. There's really no way around it. So it does look like Yaga's aware that somebody is potentially up here. I really don't want him to swing through this window. I think he's more than likely just going to hold on to this for the cross as they're breaking up a lot of this. So you see that the main little paper area upstairs is being held, but they weren't ready for the rotation from Liquefact. I don't even know if they had a drone in there to actually suss out that positioning that was through the paneling. So far so good from him. Might be able to find another one too. That prone position on the windows, you got to be aware. Fish loses his noggin. He's going to have some time to think about that one.
Beautiful double from Liquefact here, playing into his position perfectly, but not overstaying his welcome either. Realizes that it's probably getting a little too hot after the 2-for-1 pickup, so he's going to fall back. Player inside of Jay that was supporting him upstairs also backs away down on the first floor. Much more confident hold coming out here from BDS inside of round number 2. Not much they need to adjust to at this point. Really just sit back and wait on the site positions themselves. They just have to kind of sit back and see what the next move from Oxygen is going to be. And unfortunately, that's going to be quite delayed, as Oxygen now down to a 3v5. Going to try to establish some top downs. Hope that something reveals itself down below from these. But as you can see from the silhouettes, there's not really a whole lot. BDS, once again, masterfully avoiding any of this opening aggression from Oxygen. Make sure this is as clean of a round as possible in the response.
They need to lock themselves away, John, and do not come out Make sure Oxygen cannot get any of these easy kills. You can see a multitude of Oxygen members awaiting the arrival of any rotation from BDS, and Oxygen clearly in kind of a downward spiral right now, at least with this offensive side. A little early here for them, so still a lot of adjustments to be made, but BDS finally able to get something over on them after that very first successful round. Oxygen just kind of losing the plot when it came to the top floor there initially. This situation is going to be, yeah, all for naught as well, as BDS will be able to take him down. That's usually what you get with Monty in those low time situations, or rather low man situations, when it's you know, one plus him versus a lot. Always going to be pretty difficult to try and work your way out of those woods. So BDS will pick up their very first round as they're able to punish the clear, or lack thereof, on the top floor from Oxygen.
Great quick adjustment as well from BDS. Know that Oxygen wants to play this very slow, very methodical opening game. So immediately goes to a site where they can kind of get out of that box, get away from that sort of playstyle here, and get in the way of those opening entries themselves, as you see here. It's just BDS kill after BDS kill, time and time again, until Dream finally gets that opening marker, which is immediately traded out as well by BDS, who also picks up the final kill too. Nice enough for BDS. Now it's a question of, can they stay consistent? Where will they try to take it next? They continue with this kind of strategy of the more open sites where they have that ability to roam around and throw a fast one at the OXG members. That would take them more than likely upstairs, or really if they want to throw a sort of fast one, go down to archives as well, or do they try to test the basement again? That's the next choice they have here, and we'll get the answer in just a second.
99% of the time, it's usually the base.
Archives.
But
yeah,
it is archives, so a good thing you mentioned it, because that's usually the site that we never see. We do get play on all the sites on Bank, but this is definitely the one that receives the littlest amount of love. But for BDS, so far, I mean, it's been so good on more of these off sites. Open area is starting to be a big favorite for teams over the last couple of years here, but this site definitely been troublesome. So let's see how BDS wants to go about this. You can already see a Lems on Vigil, an operator that we barely see anymore, but he's going to be dedicated to the top floor, trying to work his way around Oxygen's drone game.
BDS, like we said before, doubling down here on the more open formula sites in hopes that they can get a better grasp of Oxygen's opening aggression through that method. We're going to see Oxygen slow things down a little bit here too. Obviously, as they need to take that initial control themselves, they're going to start it from the loan office here, just beside the lobby. Lobby, of course, is being taken quite quickly as well. They've kept the Montaigne in place. Same player on it as well. Spoxay now carves his own way through the lobby, is starting to move upstairs, and stealing a little bit of that control away from BDS. Bit of free intel for him, and there we go. Already one player found out here at the top of main stairs. Like a fact, we'll have to be a little careful from this point forward, as his intentions obviously have been revealed.
Oh, Newers.
He's like a couple pixels off there.
He's so close, John. That's a strong spot in the skylight as well. Great spot to try and cut off a lot of the rotations. That is one of the mainstay stairwells. And again, the drone's just not really working out. Is that a Frostman? What happened here?
No, he downed him. It was just delayed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he got locked in the animation, I think, so it was a little awkward. But
happens pretty often.
all good as the kill is still claimed either way. Lems knows he's got someone else in the neighborhood as well, but there has been a trade. So Lems may have to think twice about this. Could go for the hop out as well, but that'd be too bold probably for this scenario. No, he's gonna go for it though, and the timing is correct. No one else is here to trade him back either. It's beautifully positioned.
Oh, no!
I'm gonna correct myself again. As Dream, positionally, it may not be the smartest move as he's just reset himself outside, but at least again, keeps the numbers even. Brings it down to a 3v3, and thankfully I don't think there's anyone else up there, so Dream should just be able to hop right back in.
Good on Dream for not allowing that rotation. That is one of the longest ways to get back into a building in the entire game. So good on Oxygen for at least being able to keep the man count even and try and solve this puzzle in the last minute. The big issue, though, is, well, Shaiko's playing Solus. So a lot of drones are more than likely going to meet their maker here soon. And anybody on anything electronic, anybody on a phone or anything, is going to know their position. So Oxygen trying to manage their way around Fox's Monty here yet again. Last round definitely wasn't the biggest benefit to them, but this could be the time as there's really no preventable maintenance here from BDS minus the Nitro Cell of Renshiro. But this thing is going to have to sing to be able to close down this shield.
Complete attempted intel denial here from BDS.
Oh no!
They're trying to stop drone intel at its fullest, but you'll see another one-to-one exchange go off. It's been dead even throughout the entirety of this round. Shaiko finally needing to activate himself from the back end of Archives here. Bride as well, yet to have struck on the inside of this round. Foxy doesn't work himself past the laser gate. Unfortunately, he's at very low HP already, so could not afford to walk through it again. Plant now attempting to go down. The refrag coming through, and no, unfortunately, the support has been taken care of, meaning the planter as well will be dropped as BDS claim a second round in a row and the lead along with it here at 2-1.
once again able to match the pace of Oxygen, get them on the back foot, and force them into a low time execute. And they're not capable of it at the moment, especially with the shots being fired back. BDS are not afraid to take these fights up against OXG. I'm going to have a tech pause coming in here, folks, as it is 2-1 in favor of BDS on their defensive end right now. Things looking pretty cleanly on some of these, more off sites here, as we get to see Alem's little cheeky kill once again as he was able to tag up Yogg before he got in. But Oxygen just not really hitting their mark when it comes to their clear so far here on Bank.
BDS, to be fair, at least in that round, hard countering Oxygen's kind of slow clearing strat, very drone-heavy emphasis on things in the early round. I mean, just look at BDS's lineup in terms of operators, and more specifically, how they went and set that up on the inside of Archives here. Mute Jammers blocking every access point, Laser Gates covering anything else that would not have been covered by the Mute Jammers. The roam game has a Vigil, so you can't very easily discern his position, just constantly making Oxygen second guess, but where they need to be, more importantly, where they need to aim their guns, and that slows them down too much, causes them to make little micro mistakes that BDS can then capitalize on and shut things down to claim a second consecutive round there. Great adjustment from them, and now it falls very much to Oxygen to come up with their own personal response. That the good news is, more than likely, that has stretched BDS to the kind of limit of their sight. They can go upstairs once again, but that is going to put them into a box somewhat, as we were seeing them put into on basement as well. So that's another site where we could see Oxygen strength come back, because obviously they took control of basement back in the very first round. If we go back to basement, very much the same story, even more obviously there.
Yeah, absolutely the case. You know, I think if they do go back down to basement, there's some technical things that they can actually do for their setup to kind of assist themselves, because once Oxygen was able to get kind of control of, the stacks downstairs, the server area, they were really able to just dislodge a lot of the Goyo utilities. So maybe you drop him, apply something else, maybe a Nitro Cell or some other form of utility to try and back them off or just slow them down. Make the clear a little bit more difficult for them initially, instead of just them simply applying explosives and being able to win out in that way. But either way, I think BDS do have a lot of options, including the top floor, and a lot of strats that they can pull out of a hat over on that end. So we'll see what Redeemer and the boys have to say as Dream is trying to get his PC figured out.
There's just going to be a quick reset of the PC real quick, and then hopefully we'll get him back into the server without too much delay. As you can see, we still kept all the players in game, so it should just be a quick rejoin, hopefully here for Dream, and then we will resume the game where it was. Don't think we're going to need a full rehost or anything like that. Fingers crossed, not trying to jinx it, but we will see.
Why did you say something? You just had to. Yeah, open your mouth, didn't you?
You never know, it's sushi, so.
Well, we know whose fault it is if that ends up happening, so.
Yeah.
I'll at least make you aware. as for, it'll be after broadcast. I have a lot of strong words for you. It looks like we'll have Dream hopping back in here, but so far it's been a pretty decent bank, I'd say. I mean, pretty close, just really up to Oxygen and their adjustments when it comes down to these executes and trying to clear out a lot of the extension there from BDS. Like you were saying about that last round, I really like the build-up on the top floor, especially with how they were able to exemplify how good Vigil is against drones with those Mute Jammers as well as Solus from underneath, able to kind of assist him.
Yeah, we need to mention the Solus there and all that free intel it was feeding the players upstairs, the Vigil as well, being able to kind of dodge around the opening clear and then being able to assist in the late round there too. Pretty much a perfect setup to just play from the inside of that central box of those two sites and never really have to extend too far beyond that, with the exception, of course, of playing the initial roam game. So beautifully done there by BDS.
Poor guy has to do his entire settings again.
Yeah, it's all good.
He's a pro player. He can get that done in like 30 seconds flat. Don't worry about it.
Bro's gotten really good at this over the years.
Yeah, exactly. They're practically speed running when they are setting up their stuff. It's not like CS where you can just like bring your file with you either.
Yeah, you don't have configs.
Yeah, dude, that's like the best thing ever for CS. You're like, boop, there you go.
If Fubi really wanted to throw these players for a number, they would like change the position of all these things in the menu. just hit the shuffle button on the menu settings. You know?
Don't give them any ideas. All right, don't give them any ideas.
All right, it looks like we've got him rejoined by the symbols there at the top. So we'll
got to make sure we got that camera on Brede there. He's looking good, man. Looking great.
BDS are here looking for their second championship, I believe, as they were the victors of Gamers8 last year. It was the first big trophy lift, I believe, for BDS overall, which of course they was capped off on a few months later by also taking control of the end-of-year major in Jönköping. So it's been a big run for BDS here over the past few months. Teeter-totted a little bit here in the 2023 season, but like I said before, a chance for a second trophy lift here at Gamers8 for the second year in a row. We'll see if they can find it yet again. We're very close, folks. Hopefully just another minute or two here. We should be back in game. We appreciate your patience here. We work to resume things.
Yes, indeed. But as you were saying, BDS has had a pretty crazy year over this last, period of time, especially with that win at Gamers8 and then Yongshipping, where you and I were actually supposed to cast the final, but I had to end up casting with Parker and Tara Mackay instead. I hated every moment. I hated it all. It's like, why can't John be here?
Bad timing.
Yeah, really, really bad timing. The worst time to get food poisoning ever.
I don't even know what that was. That was one of the weirdest sicknesses I ever got.
Parker wanted to cast with me, so he poisoned you. That's what it was.
Just bad kebab the night before or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, man. I will say, though, the steak place that us and a lot of the pro players were going to there was actually fantastic. And hilariously enough, they had a bunch of Texas stuff in there. So
oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, remember that, like,
the
good. Texas Longhorn sign and everything?
Well, I think that was run by an American guy. Sorry, we were crazy.
Yeah, it was.
I think it came out. I was like, thumbs up. You got the approval.
Dude, what a spot. I kind of missed that, man. That was a really, really good time. But I mean, now we're here in Riyadh, we're hanging out. The Gamers8 so far has been crazy. This LAN setup is something like I have never seen before in my life.
Yeah, I think the best way I've found to describe this is like gamer Disneyland.
Yeah.
Basically. Because obviously we have the tournament being run here in the venue, but I'm sure those of you guys at home that are pretty good on social media and stuff have probably seen like other pictures and stuff, and this is like a whole convention. Like we could probably walk for a good like 30 minutes or so in one direction and we would not hit the end of this thing.
Yeah, my guy, you will get lost here. You will, for sure, for sure. They told us to go find the stage when the TMs were off doing some stuff, and we just started walking around. Dude, I walked around for like 45 minutes. I had no idea where that stage was. We got to like the food court. That place is crazy.
They got like KFC and stuff there.
Woo. By the way, for the Americans watching right now, they have Raising Cane's here. That'll blow your mind. You want to talk about some culture shock? Fly for 16 hours and then get off the plane and then see Raising Cane's. That's just something else, man. That's crazy.
All right, well, once again, folks, we are just waiting here for our players to ready themselves up, and then we should be good to hop in game. We appreciate your patience once again. As you can see, BDS is nice and ready to go. Obviously, they've got the leads. They're pumping it up right now. They just want to get back in game. We'll see just how quickly we are able to do that. I think the admins were just double-checking something with the computer on the other side, and unfortunately, it looks like it is getting extended a little bit further, so we do apologize for that, folks. Keep on chatting here while we wait for a quick fix to Dream's PC issues and then get ourselves back into the game. Once again, if you are just joining us, BDS is currently up 2-1. It's only map number 1 of the series, though, so still a long way to go. A lot of siege still to be played between these two teams as we get deeper and deeper into the event here at Gamers8.
And just like that, I want a sleeve again, man. Look at that. You see someone with a beautiful sleeve like that, and you're just like, somebody stick me with a bunch of needles. Come on. That looks fantastic, dude.
I thought you were talking about the shot sleeve for a second.
Not the shot sleeve. Screw that, bro. I'm talking about Shaiko's tattoo sleeve. Nah, no way, dude. Somebody just gets like a patch of it put on the bottom of their arm. No, dude. I've been like, I got a tattoo like a year and a half ago. I'm itching again, man. I'm itching. I really want to get a sleeve. My wife is like, don't do anything past a half. I don't know. I'll probably get myself in trouble. We'll see. We'll see. But we do have another couple of minutes here, folks, so sorry for the delay. I know we're a little off topic, but welcome to the Blokes Podcast. This is what we do once we run out of things to talk about on the previous rounds. So what have you been thinking about Gamers8 so far, brother? I know you were here last year. You told me last year that it was like a mini city, and I 100% agree with you, and especially with the statement you said earlier about it being like a Gamers Disneyland. But, I mean, it is immense what they have to offer here. What's been some of the coolest stuff that you've seen?
Last year, they had like a whole like Japan convention. Like
really?
You go like learn like calligraphy and everything. Like yeah, like how to like write the symbols and stuff like that. Probably like butchering what the stuff's actually called, but all good. And then you could like climb like Wall Maria from like Attack on Titan or something like that.
Okay.
Like that's what it was crazy, man. I think they brought some of that back this year. I know they got a whole convention hall filled with like top level sim rigs as well. I gotta sneak over and try that at some point.
Yeah, we're gonna have to race, man.
Yeah. We gotta hop on the.
You want to do Vegas?
Yeah, why not?
You're probably gonna kick my ass.
We got that
Vegas.
like 3 miles straight to deal with.
Dude, I'm so excited. Too bad the F1 season sucks because Max Verstappen's too good at his job. Like, somebody get rid of that guy already, please. Anne's probably so mad at me right now.
There's some interesting stuff going on this year.
Did you know that he's not even Dutch? He was born somewhere else. I can't remember where it is.
Careful, you're gonna.
Oh, whoa.
Careful. Twitter might
At Stokes, you can tell me about it. It's okay.
Here, you're only just come back. So.
Yeah, nah, it's fine. I'm here to kick the wasp's nest.
And you can see it there at the bottom right, guys.
Gonna kick that PC too.
Still working on swaps.
Oh, they have to switch out the monitors? Dude, listen, we got some amazing people. We're fine, buddy. No worries. We can get through this. But either way, gonna get the screen switch. They're gonna check some things out. We might be with you guys for a couple more minutes here, just talking about things about Gamers8 and stuff. But once we run out of topics, we're gonna toss it to a break, unless we can delay long enough for our boy Dream to get back on his PC. They're gonna check out the screen and just make sure everything is going on. I don't exactly know what the issue is. Might be something like the frame rate just isn't applying itself properly.
He might have some weird delay between his PC and his monitor or something like that. There's a whole laundry list of things that could be going on right now. But as you can see, we've got like 6 people working on it. So we are trying diligently to get ourselves back into the game as quickly as possible, folks. And of course, we will be jumping back into that one once more. You can see the score right in front of you there. BDS currently up 2-1 after taking control of the more open sites. We're on bank, by the way, of course. That would be open area, obviously. And then they kind of surprised a little bit by going for a bit of a curveball over towards Archives. Worked out great, though, because they doubled down on this intel denial strategy. And Oxygen was just left guessing about how to approach things after they took upstairs control. Just could not work their way past the plethora of intel denial, and unfortunately dropped that second round in a row. Oxygen, of course, did close out on round number 1 in the basement, but it was a very, very close affair. Mainly some good overwatch from Noors upstairs once they had gotten the plant down on the ground is what allowed them to close out on that one. So even a return to the basement, which could very well be coming up on this next round, is not necessarily going to guarantee a 2-2 scoreline. We could very easily see BDS clap back on that one as well and then take it 3-1.
Very true. It's really just up to BDS to try and shut down the oddities. You know, they were able to at least take out the player going for the E drop and then deal with Dream eventually in Garage, but he was already able to get a pretty impactful frag once he was able to get through those Kiba barriers that were holding things up around the cop car. So really, it's up to BDS and what they can potentially accomplish, whether it be through utility or other means. We really don't know just yet, but it does look like we will be getting back into game here soon. As you can see, we already have Pulse up here for our boy on bank.
All right, once again, just sitting here and waiting once again to see how this is going to go. Looks like we are still working on it, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to ask your patience here for just a few more moments. While we do that, though, I think we are going to go to a very quick break. And then when we come back, we'll have the resummation of this game, starting from round number 4 on map 1, of course, coming out between OXG and BDS.
This could all be gone tomorrow. So all I need right now is your love. Taking me home, taking me home. So when the
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gamers8 Rainbow Six event for 2023. Apologies once again for the disruption, as we were just in the middle of BDS and Oxygen's first game of the tournament. Had a little bit of a tech issue with one of the OXG players' PCs, but I do believe as we're back now that has been fixed, and hopefully we are heading back in game in just a moment. If you weren't with us for the previous 3 rounds, well, the score is right there on the back, so I'm not going to give you a spoiler warning because you've already been spoiled. It's 2-1 currently in the favor of BDS, taking the second of the 3 rounds that have been played, with Oxygen claiming the first one so far on Basement, with us being played in Bank, of course. Back into the game, I believe, in just a moment here. We're going to be heading into round 4. Does BDS go for a repeat on that Basement site in hopes of claiming a massive advantage at 3-1, or do they keep extending their grasp on the 4th and final site upstairs? Let's find out right now. As you can see it on the PCs, we're heading back into it, and I believe indeed we are on the Basement.
We are. So decent prediction from us, as it was either going to be here or upstairs, but this one just makes a heck of a lot more sense when it comes down to it, doesn't it? Let's see what they've done for their adjustments. Oh, funny enough, what we saw on Lickeffect's computer earlier before the break, that pulse just sitting there, he's locked it in, and that's what they're bringing downstairs. We talked about the Goyo utility getting removed way too quickly, very viciously as well from Oxygen. It happened in a snap, and that's not something you really want to happen downstairs, is that delay needs to happen. Otherwise, if that offense is able to get that case on the ground, John, the round's more than likely over. So BDS are going to go back to an old tried and true here on Bank with Pulse, and I almost guarantee you that Lickefect will either be starting things on the mid floor, but either way, he's going to end up in Gold Vault at some point and be staring at those server stairs to see where our opponents are going to be.
We dropped the Fenrir as part of this exchange, and I kind of agree with it. The Fenrir was played at least for the first 2 rounds and wasn't really all that effective, if I'm being honest with you. We did not see his ability come out too often, so I'm going to agree with this change up now to bring the smoke back in instead for that traditional delay, which was pretty much missing back in round 1.
They did have the smoke there, but it just didn't really build up to all too much because they didn't really have another way to try and break things down. You know, limited nitro cells, limited info as to what Oxygen was doing behind those smokes. And really, I like what BDS is doing here. You know, I thought that Pulse was going to head on back downstairs and just try and play things out, but they want to try and hold this full building, and I love that even more, honestly, because if there's one thing that we've learned about Pulse throughout the history of Rainbow Six Siege, is that he's the best info op in the game for the defense. He can constantly track people. That nitro cell is always going to be something that Oxygen is going to have to try and be aware of, and as well as that, I mean, he's constantly able to feed information to his teammates that make it so difficult for Oxygen to try and stay a leg ahead.
He's already with that full top square control. Just going to leisurely move along here to clear out the rest of the bottom square area, which does not look like it's going to have a whole lot of resistance in it from BDS, so it'll be a pretty uneventful clear.
Yep, you're on.
Yellow ping has gone in. I'm not really sure what that's going to indicate. Might just be some utility or something else hiding on the inside, but as you mentioned, there's nothing actually hiding in there. It's a full 5-man setup in the basement currently from BDS. They're just sitting back, biding their time, waiting for OXG to make that first strike.
I really respect BDS's playstyle here for their basement defenses so far, because they've shown face both times, and then they've backed it off and kept their entire man count. And that is the stark gameplay that you want to see out of any team that is holding things down downstairs. You are just trying to delay time and make sure you have all the utility in the world to be able to try and slow things down when it comes to Oxygen's execution. Nor's going to get tagged up just a bit from one of the open hatches, but Lickeffect, on the other hand, has a good read on the situation from his cardiac sensor.
BDS now continuing to hold things out as they wait and see where, once again, Oxygen is going to make that first strike forward. They need to do so.
It would really help if you looked up, Licky.
Looks like the hatch play is going to be part of the formula here for Oxygen, as Dream is trying to find positions to insert these incendiaries, which will allow them to go for the hot hop. And indeed, smokes, as I correct myself, are actually going to go in. Renshiro, however, here will be able to spot through those. Can he deny the plant outright? That's not the big question. Losing it, though, is he cannot spot Dream. They think it's behind the chassis. He's somewhat right, but there we go. Denial comes in with just a second or two left on the plant timer there. Beautifully done. Great use of the smart glasses on the Warden, as usual. Lamb's now trying to get a bit more aggro as well. Tries to go for a lurk up the stairs, but Barbed Wire still in position on the first flight. Makes it all too obvious. Nitro's in, but it's way too far flung. Chalet does pick up Renshiro, though, on the repeat, but immediate responses have come in across the board from BDS as they shut down the rest of the aggression and claim a third round.
And that's on Pulse play, baby. Able to keep track of absolutely every single body on Oxygen. Not a single person was going unnoticed. Although that plant did get awfully close, like real close. Probably under a second there. I didn't get to see the time there at the very last moment, but Warden
like
was
a
definitely,
second or two.
Yeah, Warden was definitely flirting with that for quite some time. So BDS, luckily enough, able to strike true on the planter and then get down to business for the rest of round 4 as they'll shoot this lead up by 2.
2.2 seconds left on the defuse timer as I got a better view of it there on the replay. But once again, Oxygen, unfortunately, just not able to suss out the internal site setup as well as they were able to back on round number 1. And BDS with much more tried and true operators for this specific setup as well. Like Stokes had mentioned at the beginning of the round, they go back to very much a default kind of basement hold and never really test the waters too much on their roam game, making it that much easier to lock down the site and prevent a second attacking round from going on the board for OXG. 3-1 is now the score. OXG left wondering, what exactly do they do next? Well, they're going to have some good news in the fact that at least they get another fresh site to try out here. BDS really extending their grasp. They should have unlocked open area on this round, but they're not going to choose to go back to it just yet. They're going to go upstairs instead. An interesting choice to be sure.
Speaking of interesting choices, Oxygen with the Blitz and the Monty coming out. They got Lion in play to lock things down, Ash to make things very quick, very efficient, and Yaga obviously to try and break down some of these walls. Now here's the key thing. There's absolutely no secondary hard utility, but they don't need it. The reason that Yaga is here is because he's going to shut down all of these electronics so that they don't know what's going on. The EU1D will come through, and then Fox and Dream, definitely at the helm, will more than likely be shoving their way immediately into sight trying to force this plant. They have so many smokes, so many ways to try and work their way around this, but Dream is definitely going to have to be aware that he needs to turn himself around from the positioning of BDS because Warden is in play yet again, and Brede can seriously give him some hurt.
Dream dashing in, takes control behind the CEO desk. Shaiko, though, does respond by taking out his supporting player coming in from behind. Lems to pick up the second, and it's all falling to pieces very, very quickly. A valiant attempt from Oxygen to take fast control of the second floor site, but it's not looking like it's going to work as a Lems shuts the door on the final player.
I respect it, but even if Solus didn't don the stairwell, they still just win that round because Solus is downstairs. She checks the ceiling, sees him planting through the floor, and kills Blitz. It's just that simple nowadays in Siege. So, unfortunate for Oxygen as they cannot get a single rung on this ladder. See if they can try and climb a little bit higher in this last round, but so far it's been stagnant with only one round going their way.
Yeah, 4 in a row here now coming in from BDS. Quite a dangerous streak, and this is also now all 4 sites across the map have been locked down by our defenders. So beautifully done by BDS to win all of those at least once. They've got their pick of the litter now, obviously. They've got both of the first floor sites unlocked for play, so they can go back either to open area or archives. Both of them worked swimmingly, especially archives. They locked out any and all intel or any and all real execute capability for Oxygen on that previous round, so it would not surprise me if they went to that one first over open area, which was a little bit of a closer affair.
I mean, past round 1, this has been a masterclass on how to defend Bank. Every step of the way, they are dealing death blows to the info game, the time of Oxygen, as well as able to get one over on them when it comes down to their executes as well. So firing on all cylinders, but what else would you expect from the French squad? BDS has been that guy this entire last year, and they're looking to do it again here at Gamers8. It all starts with the downfall of Oxygen.
Back into it, and we do go back to the expected site choice here. In terms of traditional picks anyway, of open area for BDS. That means the Fenrir is coming back in. This will be good because open area does have some unexpected surprises when it comes to attackers suddenly getting access to part of this site. I mean, just look at how big it is. So hopefully the Fenrir capability is going to be able to help out with that. He will have to, of course, be sure to be quick switching around which one of those, are actually activated, which can be a bit of a tough game to play out. But hopefully, Brede being the player should have no problem managing that. As we do see Oxygen spawning out now. No repicks for them. It's going to be locked on their original lineup, and it's looking very similar to what had been brought for the last open area clear. I do believe Flores is going to be a new addition onto this one, just to potentially deal with a little bit more of that insight utility. We've got quite a few of those that can be taken out. Most notably, though, this time around, it's going to be things like barbed wire on the floor, it looks like, as well as potentially a few Kiba barricades and maybe a goo mine or two if they really need to stretch it. In terms of actual gadgets, not going to be a whole lot that'll be accessible unless we have some of those Fenrir gadgets sitting really close to the ground. Then, of course, I believe, oh no, it's explosive, so that should take him down outright. But again, Brede being who he is, should be smart enough to throw those high enough up.
Yes, indeed. Those dread mines have been quite the utility piece so far since Fenrir has gotten introduced. Seen quite a few clips of people. Definitely interesting when it comes to Rainbow Six as well.
It's also cool because it's like a new type of stun for the first time in quite a while too. It's kind of like that nearsighted effect you get in Valorant from time to time. It works very similarly to that. So
the blind effect. big Omen main over here, you know?
Yeah.
And off the board here. So Oxygen will continue to work this top floor. Got some angles building up for themselves, but you can see where Shiro has battled some of those back with a few of the barricades that he has applied. Newers is going to take some serious damage, but I don't even think that the M590 wielding defenseman is even aware of that.
That was a complete accident.
Yeah, ended up tagging him, and Newers able to slip through the cracks. Shaiko probably pretty mad about that one, as did have some bodies upstairs to be able to call that off, but nothing really info-wise for that main hallway. So end up losing him. Start transitioning this into the mid floor.
First time in quite a few rounds we've seen actually get off to this good of a start. In regards to the fact that we have not seen the immediate trade come back out. Newers, of course, still taking some damage from the shotgun pellet. I believe he got directly hit once or twice by another weapon as well. So he is a little bit worse for wear, but seeing he's on the buck, he should be able to kind of just park himself upstairs here and play out of those Overwatch angles, where unless BDS go for a late round rotate, he should be relatively safe up here, right inside of these. But coming down to a minute now, OG still have quite a bit of time to actually burn out away from BDS before they're going to be forced into an execution. So it looks like, as we've seen on the past 5 or so rounds now, they're going to try to use that to the fullest extent they can.
Ever since that pick on Shaiko, things have been dead quiet, minus some utility pieces going off to break up a few boards around the map. Liquefac knows that there's potential for somebody to be playing these windows, and yes, indeed, Fish is going to be around the space. Around to hop in, not even going to check. No drone inside of lobby either. What a freebie for Liquefac. And again, Oxygen just not dotting their I's and crossing their T's, John.
Certainly not. That's going to cost them here. Let's come down to the wire. 15 seconds left to go. Dream knows he's got intel and someone around the corner, but he can't find the angle. Just a little too awkward at this point. Has to force himself into the site where another player has gone down. Finally, we see the Fenrir gadget make its mark here, as Yogg is going to be blinded out, trying to work his way in through Printer. Has very little intel to play off of, unfortunately, and BDS immediately shutting him down as well. The rampage from BDS continues here, as they're now at 5 rounds in a row here to close down the half.
I mean, BDS are making this map look like a fortress, man. Every single one of these rounds, it's just been Oxygen walking right into a mulcher, getting decimated. 5-1, only able to muster that very first round where, well, BDS were kind of going for something a little cheeky with their downstairs setup. A couple of ops that were a little, more fresh face for that kind of a setup. But when you go back to the tried and true, you keep pulsing there, you keep all that info game. Things are so very strong for a spot like that. Works out for them. So able to right the ship immediately. Tag together 5 rounds.
See how they were working it as well here. It is way too complicated of a setup for the members of Oxygen to play around, especially considering the low timed executes that Oxygen was very often having to find themselves going for. So all too often we see them dropping those rounds. Oxygen now behind 1-5 here, and BDS looking to try and close things down relatively quickly with just 2 more rounds needed on this attacking side.
5 seconds to insertion.
A little bit of an open area defense here for Oxygen, but obviously the real story is what's going on down low. Newers, actually, speaking of story, is going to be on Doc, an op that we don't see too often, but one that can be quite potent in the proper hands, and well, as we know, Newers can definitely be that set. Going to try and operate things over inside of open area. BDS more than likely going to assault this here sometime soon, but obviously they can't just work things from the top floor, have a lot of soft destruction, especially in the likes of Sledge and Buck. So just make this thing a fish in a barrel situation.
Oxygen trying to position themselves out a little bit, somewhat similarly to how we were seeing BDS try to play things in the opening moments of their own first rounds as well here. Liquefac, though, sees a moment of opportunity, immediately pops the hatch, or at least have a little bit of soft paneling there to try and spot the player down below. Unfortunately, not going to end up working out. We will see that player escape with minimal damage done to them in the process.
So far, so good for Oxygen. Haven't lost a body, but the positioning from BDS is pretty strong right now, especially for Shaiko. He can kind of just wait things out and see if any Oxygen member rolls in. BDS probably in a very similar situation as well, so he'll take down Foxe. Mid-floor completely in the hands of BDS. Alem's going to take down Newers as well. And Oxygen, where are we? What are we doing? Everyone's just walking into angles and dying.
Shaiko just going off.
It's all down to Dream. He's 0-3, and I mean, he's got 3 friends with him in his backpack, but there's 5 on the other team, and they're pretty pissed.
Shaiko Just going 1 for 1 for 1 there, it looks like, as he picks up kill after kill after kill. And like you said, the player's just walking into it, it seems, on the OXG side of things. Dream at least denies partially,
Don't disrespect them.
Renshiro just full swings it to end the round here and set up a 6th and potentially final penultimate round for the members of BDS. As like we said before, they're looking for a very quick closeout here on map number 1.
Yeah, Renshi hit him with the, how dare you use utility against me? That's crazy, man.
You've ruined our perfect round, how dare you.
BDS all over Oxygen. They're getting snuffed out right now. Need to find something to ignite themselves once again. Alems and BDS overall have just been so patient, not only on their defenses, but showing it off yet again on offense, where they're not really moving too much. They get the position that they need, and they're very patient about what they do with their timing, and I really appreciate that. That's something that is a hallmark of a fantastic team in Rainbow Six.
So once again, BDS looking as strong as ever here, and well on their way, trying to earn that 2nd trophy lift here at Gamers8 for the 2nd year in a row. Just one more round separates them from at least a definitive lead in this series. We'll have to see if they can find it. OXG not even going to change up the site here either. Just goes right back to the basement play. They're going to forget what happened in the last round here, try to refresh themselves, and hope things go better this time around as well. Quite obviously it has to, as they need 5 rounds in a row at this point, and that only guarantees overtime. No longer is going to guarantee a win for Oxygen as well here. Just gives them that extra 3-round bonus where they can finally then try to close out on the game itself.
They seriously need this leadoff pick. Whatever happens, Oxygen has to get away with something here, or this round is more than likely going to be all for naught. Even if it gets down to like a 2 versus 2, I'm still banking on the fact that BDS takes that right now, as they've just been so very strong. Like, in fact, he's bringing the shotgun with a suppressor on it, John. No one's going to hear him processing this top floor. They will hear the walls breaking, a couple of other things, maybe see the laser. But this thing is so deadly up close and personal. And just remember, she also has that SMG-11 secondary, casuals alike, an amazing gun that everybody has always really loved, especially because of smoke. So we'll see if he's able to get anything done with that. So far, so good, though, for Oxygen. As things might quickly heat up, though, as LickyFact walks his way in, sees one. There's no way that he just drops into this. He's just going to play things over the top of the hatch and wait. Anyone trying to rotate in towards open area, Oxygen instead going to fall back. You can't see that laser, though, and that is the little scary bit there, but he's quickly just going to pop the wall open, make a new angle for himself towards garage, and then reset with the rest of the team.
Props to Oxygen for avoiding the very scary potential of an execute from LickyFact right there. It seems like they just barely skirt away from that player to avoid what could have been a very bad chain of events. But still, a little over half the round still to be played out. BDS is already in prime position to execute on the site. At this point, they're just sitting here and using this extra time to reaffirm any drone intel they need to work on. Shaiko now finally getting the confidence to swing down main stairs. This may not be the best play when you look at the number of Oxygen players that sit on the other end of it. I think he's now realized that after some consideration from the initial peak, he'll back away from it and join his teammates here over by open area and square.
He has to stay here. The reason being is he has to be the distraction. He has to be the rub. Something to make Oxygen focus on him. And it's so very strong from him. Fish able to finally pick it back up. Using that hatch hop. Able to take down one. They'll equalize things here. A little hatch play upstairs as well, as Oxygen has extended themselves, and the cardiac sensor back in Fox's hand. He's always been so strong on this character, and they're looking to get it done again as they have the hatch control, something that's so pivotal to getting this plant down. LickyFact, though, he ends up bursting through the back doors, and now he has office control. The plant starts now.
I like the attempt from Oxygen to subvert the expectations and go upstairs, but the problem is BDS don't care. They're going directly for the site. Renshi with the cross as well to immediately cut down Newers from the hatch drop. Foxe, all that remains, and he's taking an 0-2 predictable path. Barbed Wire has already revealed his position as well. A wild spray and a wild headshot from Foxe to lock out LickyFact from this round. He may have gotten the plant, but he's not staying alive for the post-round screen here. It's still a dire situation, even after that kill for Foxe. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, quite literally here, as the elevator peak and the internal site peak, still yet to have been seen, finally shuts him down as BDS take a definitive map number 1 here at 7-1 over Oxygen on Bank.
I was hoping Davide Bucci had something there for us, John, but there's levels to this game, and BDS are definitely one step above what Oxygen are playing at right now. That was just such a strong showcase of how talented this roster is.
Some nice adjustments being made from time to time by Oxygen, but very rarely leading to actual success. More often than not, unfortunately, sealing their fate, it seems. So OXG need to take a step back here, quite quickly take a step back, rethink what has been going wrong, and get themselves ready for map number 2, as if not, we could be looking at a very quick 2-0 for the French rosters. They try to push themselves one step closer, once again, that second victory here at Gamers8 for the second year in a row.
What a disgusting bank from BDS. Like, I cannot understate that, rather, as they have been so very strong throughout this entire map. And really, I mean, it was right from the jump. Yeah, they ran into a little problem with Oxygen in that first round, but they immediately recognized what it was. And Oxygen were never able to really recoup from that. They were, you know, they made a couple adjustments, but really it was all down to a very similar style that we saw throughout, where Oxygen was not really afraid to try and take these fights to BDS. But BDS, in a lot of those moments, were simply stronger, whether it be angle play or what have you. I mean, I think the perfect example, honestly, John, of their patience and just like their cadence throughout the map was the last round, and the fact that Renchi was still sitting all the way over in server, holding the cross angle. That is amazing. That is what you want out of your team.
One big theme I'm seeing here from the replays as well is BDS just absolutely no fear when it came to taking their gun duels at all. Shaiko constantly getting out into it. Some of the earlier clips as well. We're seeing Brine have some, I mean, look at Brine, like 10-1 here on round 7, doing some really impressive stuff with regards to just how well they were able to leverage that aggression and then not get caught by it. Always able to pull most of those players back. Minimal trades coming in from Oxygen. It was beautifully played. We're going to have to see more of that, hopefully, in the next few moments, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with us as map number 2 is coming up right after this break, once again, between Oxygen and BDS.
حتاكل انت تشبع وانت مستمتع وتلاقي الوجبه جايه على الاصول واو يجيك العيش هش طالع من الاوفن والدجاج يقرمش just the way I love it وتسوي كده وتسوي كده وتسوي كده مع الحشمه وانت بغراب خفيفه جيب تويستر انا تجيب لي وجبه الزنجر بس كله يجيب اكسترا تشيز على الكرانشي تشيكن في السنتر حطلب باكيت حطلب زنجر حطلب مايتي حطلب تويستر جيب له باكيت جيب له زنجر جيب له الاصلي جيب له تويستر delicious yeah
welcome to the STC Takeover. I'm Ginny, your host, joined on the desk by Fresh as well as Jesse, and he's really sad because he thought that this game was going to be won by Oxygen, but unfortunately, NA lose 7-1 for BDS.
All right, we got a best of 3. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. You lose your opponent map pick. Obviously, 7-1's not really what you wanted to see. 7 in a row as well there, Jack. Not ideal for Oxygen. But, you know, they're getting warmed up still, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what I'm telling myself.
Clutching at that
That's what I'm telling
Jesse.
myself. Listen.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was pretty clear cut, pretty
Yeah.
decisive for BDS, to be honest.
Do you even need to warm up in this weather? Real
Maybe
question
not.
right there. I gotta think about it. Well, when we're looking at BDS, I mean, they were absolutely dominant, dropping a single round throughout the entirety of this game. We saw Nip do it earlier today against Falcons, and they won the series 2-0. So it's looking pretty good right now for BDS.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny the fact that they did play extremely well this game. I thought we saw a lot of really good moves on the defense. Obviously, that was the majority of the game, those first 6 rounds, and I thought they were really taking things into their own hands. They were playing aggressive. They were really throwing off OXG, and then when we got to those late rounds, when Oxygen went for some of those pushes, I think some of their ideas just didn't really connect. They had that round 4 smoke push that they tried to go down inside the basement, and there was a Warden just chilling back there. He eventually found the frag, so I feel like a lot of these kind of ideas with the pushes just didn't really pan out for Oxygen.
I think, you know, within this current meta, I think especially on defense, you've got to try and be disruptive. You've got to play what you see. You've got to play quite, you know, fluent and just be able to pivot whenever you need to. And BDS have been guilty of not being able to do that, not being flexible, not being able to just play what they see. They played what they saw today. They had a lot of freedom. Each individual player had a lot of freedom. And I think we saw that come to fruition. It certainly looked like a different BDS than what we saw in stage 1 of EUL.
Yeah. Also brings the question in terms of Oxygen being the opponent that they're going up against. If how the roster changes, we haven't seen them play over the last 3 months.
Yeah.
This could maybe just be the start for them as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Oxygen obviously coming in their first game ever with Fish, you know, so this is going to be a bit of a warm-up for him with the team. And I thought that he did all right today. Certainly wasn't really there in the entry department, which is kind of what they brought him in to do. Newers was okay on the entry, right? He had that big 3K on the first round. Yaga was there sometimes, but really, I didn't think we really saw Fish's potential here. I'm hoping we get a little bit more from him in that too.
I actually think we saw Oxygen try to use shields, right? We saw Fox on the Monty 2 or 3 times. We saw them obviously with the push plant with the blitz. I'm going to cast that one aside. I actually thought, considering they were trying to use the shield and then obviously drones, their information game was really poor. You know, there's certain times where they're jumping in windows or they're entering rooms where they don't know that there's a player there. There's one that I can think of Newers where he managed to walk into stock, didn't know Shaco was there, did get the kill because Newers is cracked, but they didn't know he was there. There's one where I think it was Fish was jumping in the lobby into loan office window, had no idea Leakfac was in lobby. And it's those kind of things that when you're on a big map like Bank, when you're on the attack, start snowballing once you've not got the basics on lock, the basics of that information, the basics that the Monty should provide that information as well.
Yeah, and one of the rounds that BDS lost was a round that we want to highlight specifically because it felt like at the beginning, Leakfac wasn't really, you know, up to speed, but once, you know, this round went the way it did.
Yeah, listen, I mean, this was a fun round. It was round number 1, and immediately you see Leakfac go down. And watch who he's spectating. This whole time, he's jumping around a little bit. Okay, he's looking at some cams here and there. He's taking a couple of peeks out here. But what we're going to see is a really individual play coming through from Dream. Not a player that we've often in the past seen play very solo. He's usually that hard support, but he's going to be coming in through the garage. And there is a bulletproof here placed by a lens at the start of it. You saw it just there. It's not been destroyed this whole time. But Leakfac, he's watching the POV of Shaco. He's not alerting his team. And then right when Shaco goes down, it's Dream coming in from the back. Now he gets on the cam. Leakfac drops the ball round number 1, loses this round for his team in part because of allowing that big flank from Dream to come in, disrupt that defense. And then after this happens, what does he do? I think somebody says something to him. He maybe shakes him up a little bit, says you gotta play a little bit smarter, immediately gets a big 2K entry on Smoke, roaming top floor, comes back later in this game on Solus, has some huge plays to come around. He picked it up massively. I think he was the MVP of this map in my mind, but he started off with a little bit of a goofy round that I did want to point that out. Always watch your cams when you die, please.
Could see that back check come in as you was going through there, Jesse.
Of course I had to.
Take notes.
Because I was just about to say, I thought Leakfac was pretty much the MVP of that game for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's a very clear and obvious one. You know, the one good round that Oxygen got, a successful backstab happened because a player wasn't on cans. That is very basic stuff that can cost you rounds, can cost you tournaments. So
Absolutely.
as much as he did have a good game, We'll keep these standards high on this desk.
Yeah, and that's the only round that they dropped as well. So far, they're looking absolutely incredible. We're going to be getting onto Chalet as the second map, and that is a map that we want to see again. Both of these teams show up as much as we did. I'm really looking to see more of Oxygen because only getting one round on the board is not the greatest way to start off today.
Yeah, this is their map pick, obviously. They did play it once, lost 7-3 throughout stage 1, so it wasn't a great game. I think it was a Beast Coast too, not a top team really inside of North America. So hoping we see a little bit better of a showing coming in from them. As for BDS, we saw this in the Gamers Without Borders Grand Finals against Wild. That was a big map for Shaiko, 10 kills through the first half on defense. So I don't know, hoping to see a little bit more of that, but
I think for Chalet, if you look at the problems that Oxygen had on Bank, information, big map, we've got to clear every single room and adhere to the time. Chalet doesn't have that problem. It's a smaller map and you can get on positions that cut rotates immediately so that even if there's people that have room to rotate because rooms aren't clear or whatever, you can cut them off. And I think that's what will make it a better map for Oxygen to play off, is they're not going to feel under so much pressure in terms of clearing the map and skip the information, skip the droning. For BDS, they don't like the map strategically. I think it's a little bit small for them. They like very default maps. But one thing that Chalet does allow is it allows for player individually to pop off. Like you said, Shaiko in the Games Without Borders went massive. And that's why you will see BDS allow it through, because whilst they don't really like the strategy side of it, the fact they've got players that like just being able to shoot, Shaiko, Leaky Fact, Bree in that last series, they will play it.
Yeah, but it also kind of brings a question in terms of, are they going to be solely relying on these players? I hope that that's not going to be the case. We've seen both a lot from these teams coming out, but Oxygen really leaving a little bit more to be lustered. So, Oregon is going to be our third mapper. Jesse, I'm going to have to ask you again because you were an Oxygen believer. This is going to go to the third mapper.
Jenny, you know I gotta believe. Even if it's Copium at this point, it was a tough first map. But yeah, you want to see it happen. You want a close game. Our first match of the day wasn't that close. Let's hope we get a bit closer this time.
I'm counting the list of excuses here.
No breakfast.
They lost the luggage. No breakfast. They had to walk into the venue with you, Jesse. They're warming up even though it's 40 plus degrees. Yeah. The fact of the matter is they're going up against a better team in BDS right now, and I think it'll be a 2-0.
Okay, we got a 3-mapper prediction. We got a 2-0 prediction. BDS looking to start their flawless run, but Oxygen, they want to pull this back, get to the third mapper, give us a show us what they're capable of. Let's head into the second game. Chalet coming up next.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again. Map number 2, as you can see, getting started here in just a second between BDS and Oxygen. Oxygen, unfortunately, not the greatest showing of things on map number 1 on Bank. We'll see if the second map yields better results for them. And if not, it'll be a quick 2-0 for BDS to push them forward to the next phase of the event instead here. Let's see what the bans are going to be. I would expect BDS's to be relatively similar. Zero being banned out again would not be completely out of the ordinary, seeing as we're going to Chalet especially. Let's see.
Oh,
no, the
like
Brava. But the Brava, again, another very powerful operator. We didn't actually see her played all that much in the previous map, but if you look back at like the most recent major, for instance, she was picked all over the place. It's still a very powerful proponent on maps like this. That is still going to leave operators like Flores in, which could very easily deal with that same utility and the same method. So there's other options available, but it is just going to subvert the expectations a little bit. Dokubi's ban will stay in place from the previous map, however.
Yeah, 2 very solid bans coming out of both respective teams. Solus also going to be removed from Oxygen, and that was a deadly one throughout the entirety of Bank. No matter who she was being operated by, it was constantly a thorn in the side of Oxygen that they could not dislodge. So do it through other means this time around. Valkyrie's going to get banned out as well, but that leaves up a whole treasure trove yet again of ops for the defensive end. Fenrir will be in, all of our usual cast of characters as well, such as a zombie, other things, as well as Mira on top of that as well, which we actually do tend to see on this map a decent bit. So we'll see if they end up tossing that hat in the ring. But as of right now, it's going to be a Wine Cellar's Snowmobile defense downstairs. We will have Fenrir in the lineup as well as a zombie.
All right, basement's going to be the opening site yet again as BDS also take on the defensive mantle here to start off map number 2. Let's see if they'll be able to continue their rampage from the previous map. Keep in mind, they're coming into this map on a 7-round winning streak. Oxygen only won the very first round of map number 1, and since then, it was all BDS all the time. So let's see if that is going to be a continuing trend here. On their second basement site of this series here. They're also bringing the Fenrir back too. It's been kind of switched on and off a little bit depending on the site's been played out here, so they're going to feel he has some use, and generally I would tend to agree with it.
Man, what happened in 6 months? We're really about this roam strat now on Chalet, aren't we?
Yeah.
We extending, boy. Oh my. All right, well, I'm down with it. I always appreciate a good Chalet roam. Just not something we we're seeing in professional play there for a long time, just because it can be extremely volatile. But with the amount of just potent utility across the board that's available to the defense now, why not? That's what I say.
All right, well, like Stokes had mentioned, the roam game is certainly alive and well, and not just a singular player, as you will sometimes see in these situations as well. You've got Sheko getting aggressive by Library, and another one continuing to play things out downstairs. One of those Dread Mines going to get found out very early on. However, here by Fish, he'll get knocked out. It's in a pretty off-site position, obviously, so it's not really going to have any dramatic change-up on the scope of the round. Just means BDS have to cool their jets a bit when it comes to aggression on that part of the map. Although, as you can see, Oxygen already with a pretty dangerous amount of control down here on the inside of Laundry. They can't do much with it yet, unfortunately. It's going to be a very rough take if they try to really just force the issue from this point forward. But if they can get one or two more players in position by Snowmobile, this could turn into something dangerous very, very quickly.
Great spot to kind of put themselves into this map. Great find from Newers as well, as they know this roam is happening around the mid-floor. Don't have a read on Liquefact just yet. There's potential here, but there's a drone quickly working its way towards him. Him having to work his way up the stairwell. A loser in Shiro in the process of that too, so BDS worse for wear in this one, 3 versus 5. Oxygen finally getting back to form. They're able to successfully get that first round on Bank, looking to do the same here on Chalet. Liquefact will make that a little bit more difficult though as he takes down Yogg.
Yeah, Liquefact of course coming into this one off of a Rampage on the previous map. You heard the analysis, basically giving him the credence for the MVP on that first map. Already striking true to pick up the first kill for his team on map number 2 as well here. What's else he can do? There's still a little bit of retake ability we need to see BDS work themselves into here, but at the same time, Oxygen is slowed down. They don't want to force the issue in through the back of line. Reasons for that are going to be quite obvious. You can see here, both of the walls have been double reinforced with electricity. They have been able to deal with the side wall, so Dream will pop that one open, and that should give them the second angle they need to start forcing the issue. Problem is, they've telegraphed it too much now. BDS has rotated into this to hard counter it out, so Oxygen need to be a little bit trickier with their timing, as well as, of course, their intel gain to try and play this out. Oh, Sheko really trying to test the waters a little bit there for a second. Plays right up against that Kiba, but realizes that may not be the best idea. A few seconds later, it backs up into the blue hall.
Crazy amount of respect given out. Oh.
Hook, line, and sinker right there against Newers. As it takes him down, another member of this team eliminated, and now we are at even odds. 3v3 with just about 30 seconds to go on the clock as well. Oxygen at a loss for words and a loss for strat to some extent in terms of how they should be able to work themselves into wine here. 2 are going to try to push the sidewall from the looks of things, but even there, it's not secured. There we go. Patience works out, though. Leaves a window open for Fish to force the issue and force the rotate away, but Brede sends not just 1, but 2 away. Might make it 4 overall on the round here as well. No, Sheko does it instead, but that's all right. As BDS rebound to take control of the opening round of map number 2 and keep their streak for map 1 going.
I mean, all commiserations over to Liquefact, but there's another player that we have to talk about from that last game, and it's Brede. Brede, double-digit kills as support, always on top of his game when it comes to those fragging moments, and he's showing it off yet again. A single bullet out of that TCSG removes one of the players initially from Oxygen on the execute, and then they just cannot hold a candle to the talent in between Brede and Sheko. Amazing round from BDS, as this one was down to the wire, but constantly delivering when they needed it most.
Oxygen, a lack of either utility or just willingness to try and change up their own strategy there, as we see them struggle tremendously to try to work their way in through wine, whether it was the main door or the side opening here. And once again, we're getting that replay of Brede just popping off with those final 2 kills.
All right, well, I already got my first note here for Redeemer. Why does Fox have 3 arrows still? 2 smokes and a flame.
I mean, I'll tell you why, to an extent, they just weren't really set up for an execute until those final few seconds. Yeah. There was always something in their way, whether it was the wall itself, the electricity behind the wall.
They floated a little bit too much, you know? That's really where things started the wagon wheel started to fall off. There was like that
awkward Kiba barricade that came in once they opened the sidewall. So, I mean, credit to Foxy, like, there wasn't a great time to focus on those arrows and get them out. Nevertheless, like, actually getting, I think that's what that 2-player peek along the sidewall was attempting to do, if I was reading the situation correctly there. He was probably trying to line up for it, but then Fish got the entry, and then, you know, all heck broke loose past that point, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. But the key thing is that those 2 smokes break up the 2 angles for Brede.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but you can't get away from that right there. He's too potent in that position, and the fact that you have utility to break up that line of sight and you didn't use it is just something that you're definitely going to want back. But Team BDS able to muster that round. Oxygen having a fantastic opener. Definitely cannot take that away from them, as they were able to process the majority of the map. It's just once they dawned the door, they rang the doorbell and, well, they got a nitro cell in return. So it was not exactly the best thing for them once they were actually towards the site, but So a lot of opportunity here, especially in this round. They're able to eliminate Alems and deal so much damage to Shaiko to start off round 2.
Yeah, the early entry power and just overall map control that Oxygen have been able to get here so far in round 1 and 2 is certainly nothing to scoff at. As you're going to see here, though, Lycovac once again popping back out for a very much needed trade in this situation. This is so far, I think, the same exact kill spread we saw back on round number 1, where it was OXG getting 2 initial kills. Lycovac comes in to trade one of those back. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see how the rest of this round goes, but things are looking pretty similar right now. However, BDS won't have as much room to fall back upon, obviously, since the basement is now locked away. They're unable to play into that same site for a second round in a row. They are still going to be able to descend one floor, however, into hopefully what is going to become a little bit of a bunker down in bar there.
Oxygen so far so good, able to maintain man count and muster up a couple of these angles, helping them break down this top floor even further. BDS continuing to hold on to library, and they're going to want to do this extensively. I'm sure I'll get rid of the hologram. Iana does end up barging her way from the library just as a confirmation here. See if there's anything at the end of this tunnel, any prize for Newers as he pushes himself forward, but Renshiro with the Kobe fade knocks out Newers, equalizes his man count, and once again, Oxygen, they're running into the same obstacle. Team BDS constantly having the motive, having the motion, the idea to get one over on Oxygen, and it's happening yet again.
It's that site or near site, in this case, clear that members of Oxygen are really struggling with to be able to get an extra kill or two needed to really burst themselves onto the site. Not enough confidence to move beyond that at this point here now, since they are down to even numbers. They can't afford to just throw a player at the problem and hope they can trade it out. Now that's going to be too risky being brought down with 3v3, but they don't have time to really go with any other option here. They are just going to have to brute force it. 15 seconds down. You heard our announcer give the warning out. Flashes into the connector here to hopefully blind out whoever's playing to the inside of that. I don't think it's going to work to the degree they would have wanted to. Dream with the wrong read as he tries to go for the pick, and there we go. Renshiro and I believe BDS picking up the final set of 3 kills there to lock out yet another round for BDS.
It's the exact same thing that we saw from the defenses from BDS on Bank, John. They are constantly able to keep Oxygen out of the site, and when they do eventually just get a little bit of that blade in there, they snap it off immediately. There's no real way for Oxygen to find that area to get that plant down because BDS are obsessive with their positioning. Wherever Oxygen is, you can bet your bottom dollar that BDS is right on the other side and making sure that this is the most stagnant portion of that round possible. And it's something that Oxygen have not been able to deal with. And honestly, you can't knock them. It's so very difficult to try and get something over on BDS in these moments because, well, A, they're down on utility, and B, there's really no info for them to try and work into with these dying moments. Nobody can be on a drone. You got 5 seconds left on the clock.
Absolutely the case here. Oxygen struggling in that mid-round and late-round transition to try and work a takeable site for themselves. Leaves them down yet again. It's now a 9-round winning streak if we consider the rounds from the previous map for BDS. No signs of it slowing down anytime soon either. And continuing to play just on these kind of descent strategies where they toy around with Oxygen on the upstairs clear for the first minute or two. That part of BDS's game plan has been pretty much a complete failure so far. They've gone down 0-2 for the first 2 rounds, but even just that slight fallback after the fact is enough for them to be able to regain that control and refrag it, in Lycovac's case, be able to still win things out at a 2-0 lead here so far over Oxygen. Oxygen really need to try and capture that advantage they seem to be getting in the early round and not let go of it here, because they're having such a promising start, but just never able to carry it through so far.
Feels very similar to what we have been seeing. Nothing really too hot going on early on in this round. Fish with a solid position. He's really hoping that this first set of matches here for him will go a little bit better, but when you're going up against a team like BDS, it's kind of a tall ask, especially with such a fresh face. Even though Fish is a fantastic player, I've been watching him for years, so see if they can try and help themselves out in this round and find their second round of the entire series, which is definitely not what I thought I was going to be saying when I sat down here.
Certainly not the case, but it is what has unfolded so far here. As Oxygen slowing things down, at least on the round number 3 here, tremendously compared to the previous 2. Valley's gone for a booming entry before. Now it's all held back Like a fact, though, still very much going to be the go-to player to potentially strike first here for BDS. He's got the wrap right around the corner from a big stack of OXG. 2 to 3 players sitting right within arm's reach, but obviously he needs to be careful about his own personal timing on this. And you can see those Fenrir barricades, or Fenrir mines, excuse me, are set up very well to allow him to frag out if the need should arise as well. But it's actually going to become a Lems that picks up the first real kill here. It's against Yaga as well. An important utility set piece is going to be lost. The nade goes in, but it's far too deep. And even worse, the cross that they try to establish from the outside of Ego there does not find Like a Fact. Shaiko now takes that player down from downstairs, I believe, and scores yet again, working himself from the back of that bedroom area, all falling to Dream once again here in the 1v5. And it seems like, unfortunately, Oxygen have only taken a step back from the previous rounds. He'll be nearsighted out here, unfortunately, by the Dread Mines. Shooter, of course, not to walk into that again, but the intel has already gone out. They know that he's taken that extra step forward here into the office. And more than likely, it's just a matter of time before, like a factor in this case, when Shiro snaps the jaws shut on yet another BDS round.
Well, John, when you try your best and you don't succeed, it's probably because you're playing against BDS.
Give up.
Yeah, give up. Just stop. Simply quit.
Find a better use of your time.
It's like the competitive game tweets that we were talking about a little while ago. Oh no, everybody's better than me at a video game. Just quit, man. Just stop playing.
Maybe like get better at the video game, or like play another one.
Crazy. Just go play single player games, man. Stardew Valley's calling your name. I promise. Either way, though, Oxygen. Reloading. What's the best way I put this, John? They're putting their face in places where it doesn't belong, with no info really to do anything about it. It's not that they have a bad idea. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they are setting things up around the top floor, really the portions of the map that they need, but they don't have the info basis to go off of where these angles exist and where these players are. Key part being the second piece, because if you've noticed with the setups from BDS, this map is blown to hell. Yeah. They open up every single damn angle because they want you to be confused. They want that. So it's really just biting at Oxygen, and it's been something that they have not been able to solve throughout this entire series.
I can kind of forgive the lack of entry power from Oxygen here on this third round, just because of the fact that previous 2 rounds, they did do a pretty good job there in terms of clearing things out. So that'll just be a little bump in the road, hopefully.
The setup from BDS there as well was just, oh man, how toxic.
That's going to be the problem here, is if Oxygen now continue to struggle in the early round as well, if they're not going to be able to find those openings that they were able to get in the first rounds, and we continue to see BDS dominate in the late round, as they've kind of been doing in every other situation, then this more than likely turns into a very, very quick series. Oxygen will not be left with a whole lot to play off of or even build off of long-term at that point. Keep in mind, of course, we've only got 3 rounds left in this half. A full reset comes up after that one, where most of the intel they've garnered in the first 6 rounds is going to be useless to them, and then right back to square one. So Oxygen need to turn up the heat right here, right now. And there's not a lot of credence being lent to that theory right now.
What else would you expect out of a championship roster either, with BDS going back to a site they already played? Completely different strategy. We got Mira applied here. Some other tidbits of utility that we had from the previous rounds, but when they're the best ops in the game, then why wouldn't you play them? So
this is just adjusting based on what they saw from OXG in that very first round, giving them better options to kind of avoid some of the opening aggression if they want to do so. But given what happened on round 3, they might play back into it. We'll have to wait and see. Second floor looks pretty barren right now from BDS, so more than likely going to let them have that, with the exception of Library. It looks like currently being played by Shaiko. Noors as well, just calm down. Aim training here in the window, or something.
Homie hit aim labs before this.
He's got his little like crosshair trainer there, and Nitro again. It's like a fact as well, striking true in the early round.
Mira on a roam as well. He's on the mid floor. It's like Oxygen just. You know what the crazy thing is as well, because I'm about to talk about the info game. They also have access to Zero. They have no idea where anybody is. They have no clue. Even Mira, who sounds like an elephant going through, a China shop, it's ridiculous. So for Oxygen, it's really punishing right now, because like it's crappy, man. Like there's really no other way to put it. Like I really just want to see them find some success in this info game when it matters most. Their entry game has been pretty solid. It's just that
it's fading now. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's that BDS is constantly able to battle back. Yeah, it's so difficult.
That technically right there was Like a Fact's first kill of the round, but he has been 3 out of 4 rounds the first kill for his team specifically. That was just the first time where he was actually first to get it. It wasn't Oxygen getting a kill against someone else on BDS first.
I mean, what do you do about this, John? They're walking right into this, too. They want this setup on the big garage side, but there's a mirror window here. Frag grenade in. I don't know if that'll actually pop that. I don't believe it does, so only deal any damage to anybody occupying the window. They'll get the ace charges down. Really no way for them to try and solve this one unless they had some impacts on that side, but they don't, so they'll just allow the mirror window to get opened up. So fortunately enough for Oxygen, they still had the utility in their pocket to be able to at least break up that portion of the site.
Light Claw again, so it does deny at least the initial attempt from Dream to pop the wall. You heard that Impact EMP go out. There was a second Claw in BDS hand, and he timed it well enough too. The follow-up from the Impact EMP was too slow. To be fair, normally in this situation, they are not going to have a pocket impact right there, but that just unexpected play from BDS catches Oxygen with their pants down and is going to cost them some critical time here. Still with 30 seconds to work it. Under normal situations, that would be doable, but they're losing player count again. Shaiko and BDS both able to strike. Lycovac still with the flank from the top down as well. Dream does get the opening entry against Renshiro's hold in blue tunnel, but that's such a small gesture at this point. Dream as well loses like 99 out of 100 HP in the process, so he's basically a dead man walking right now. There you go. Shaiko completes that prophecy, and now it's just Foxy alone in the 1v4. Still watching for Lycofac's flank, by the way. At least they caught it, but still it pulled Foxy away from the fight. Even when push came to shove, could not win it. Not that it would have really changed things up anyway.
Somebody get Jesse another tank of copium. I think he's going to go into cardiac arrest here soon.
That 3-map prediction is not looking too good right now.
Buddy. It's a good thing you didn't bet anything on that one, my friend, because you'd definitely be feeling the hurt. This is just an outclass moment,
He walks in with them one time and...
Dude, it's rough. The crappiest part about situations like this is like, what do you do as a commentator? You're like, there's outclass, man. It's just this is a different world that they're playing in right now, and that's no harm towards Oxygen. They're reworking things with Fish in here, trying to get some things figured out. BDS are really just that good, guys. They really are just that talented.
Once again, as has been the theme, even going back to map number 1 as well, denying most, if not all, opportunities just to set up the site for and execute on Oxygen, as you were seeing there with the Pocket Electric Claw, for instance, to bleed out another like 15, 20 seconds. You can see some real frustration here on the faces of Oxygen as well. This is getting dire and getting there very, very quickly. Past the 3-0 point now as well. BDS guaranteed a lead regardless of the outcome of these final 2 rounds, but even so, the next 2 rounds look very, very likely for at least one of them to go into the hands of BDS, which would leave us with another 5-1 half, just like we had on the previous map.
If they need a good mental reset after this, man, I know a pretty good shawarma spot, so...
There's a few of them, I think.
Yeah, they're everywhere, but so far, that has been definitely the food of my choice here. I'm a big shawarma guy in general, but I knew coming to Saudi it was going to be immense. It's going to be so tasty. And it was. It was so good, dude. It was so good. Did you enjoy your food last night?
Oh, yeah. It was good.
Well, we'll see if BDS continues to play with theirs. If they're going to nip this in the bud and potentially take this entire series 14-1, that would just, wow. Just wow.
Yogg at least has a very impactful Twitch turn right there. Works it in, knocks out a whole messy utility. Fish thankfully was on Repel right there and is able to avoid the killing amount of damage from that Nitro, though still seeing a lot of it hit him. Bit of a crazy sprint there from Lycovac. Just goes for the peak and Snowmobile. We're not even playing in the basement right now.
Nitro that open?
Just takes the duel. And finally, we do see Oxygen knocking him down, I believe for the first time with regards to his entry game. Newers as well has the intel on the peak from Shaiko. Shaiko smartly reads into that fact as he goes out. Quickly ducks and turns the other way.
All right, so Fish on low HP. Oxygen with a chance. This is going to be bar gaming. So this top floor of the utmost importance. You can see Newers working the mudroom as well, which is another piece to this puzzle that is indeed fantastic. Green has that broken up. Oh my, what a read from a Lems. Knowing somebody's probably going to occupy that area after they broke up the bar panel. Now, looks like Oxygen have to try and find their way into this site, try and find a spot to plant. They really need some verticality in this, John. Very horizontal right now. Oh, this might be it. Newers with a good read on a potentially green, but no, they got the ADS there. It eats the nade. Only one smoke lies for Foxy now, and they're letting this timer do what it does best.
That just shows once again the utility setups right now for BDS are second to none.
Disgusting.
Even when you think BDS overextending his grasp a little bit there and creeping a bit too close, like there's no way he's got an ADS prime for that. No, he does, and it just snaps up that nade that otherwise would have certainly killed him in any other situation.
Yeah, you think it's just like a cheeky little spot, but no, it was planned the whole time. Yep. They had an idea for that, and that's the thing that really just boggles your mind, is that they thought that far ahead. Oh, Yogg, not really going to be able to take an angle around that space, but Newers with 2. This is what we expect out of this man. Pre-Day, he's gonna look for a little bit more, and Foxay wasn't ready. It's a 2 versus 2. Lems, it's all down to him. Can he keep perfection here on Chalet? Borndo has the opportunity. He'll knock Yogg's head off. He knows where Fish is. He's low HP too. A single bullet will take him down. Lems, can he keep this perfection?
No.
He can't. Fish, finally, for Oxygen, will get it done, and they'll find their second round. But my God, was it hard fought.
Tense battle there as Lems tries to go wild in the 1v2 to give himself the best chance at just getting a random bullet or two into both of his opponents. A nice clean kill on the first one, but could not find Fish. So it's the new pickup here for OXG that finally locks in their second round of the series, their first inside of this map. Still one more round to go inside of the half as well. So it could be the beginning of at least a little micro rebound here if they bring it back to 2-4. That is going to be workable, to say the least, in the second half. Still, the odds are very much not in their favor with the way we've played things out. A few mistakes being made here by BDS, like in fact with kind of a questionable duel there down below as well. Other than that, though, still a very clean hold, and it was Newers on this entry that even made that round possible to begin with, just like the other round that was also won back on Bank as well. He was very much kind of the gold star for me that allowed that one to come true.
Absolutely. I think the craziest thing about round 5 there, in between these two, is that BDS, for like the first half of that round, were definitely the world's silliest gooses. They were just doing really whatever the heck they wanted to do with the map, and it was working for the most part, but with some of those, you know, more oddball plays, you also have those moments where things can, you know, go awry, and that's what happened initially, as Oxygen was able to take a lot of headway, at least with the first portion of the round. But as we know, BDS constantly able to battle things back, but that does make you think, if that garage play doesn't happen, it's probably just another BDS round.
Yeah, very possible as well. And I mean, to be honest, if Brede had stayed alive for like one more kill there, then that might have sent it down the river also. Brede was going absolutely crazy by the billiards. Big window there, so it's a beautiful play from him. If he could just extend it a bit further, Newers second-guessing himself just for a microsecond there on the peak. Cost him the kill as he's not exposed enough for the bullet to land. Had the read, had the position and everything, but just not the right position to do it, unfortunately. So we will see Like a Fact tuck away real quick from that position and hopefully avoid a premature death this time around.
We're really worried about somebody potentially playing back there. Something along those lines, end up blowing that up where they have some vision. Also, I do think that if you end up blowing that up, you can actually use like the side of the window to see the stairwell. Yeah. So you can use that to cut off rotations as well. It's been a minute, guys. All right, so
couple months.
My angle work isn't nearly as good as it used to be.
By the way, we've got Oxygen with most of the second floor cleared out, at least enough to where they can transition down through blue here. Well, it's really just going to be Newers on a bit of a solo adventure. He's got some support, obviously, from the drone being placed in front of him. Like you said, good positioning being established here. He's going to allow him to breach into the other part of the second floor, but you'll note there's still quite a bit of presence there from BDS over by Office Piano and similar areas like Solarium on the other side. So not necessarily going to have a whole lot of time to brute force those players out. They are trying to find a secret little spot here where they can sneak off this breach, but not been able to find it. Dream's getting a little paranoid of a top-down coming out against him here too. Backs up for just a moment here as he's not able to find a workable position to play this wall out just yet.
And this is where we run into these problems with Oxygen. Yep. We have to be solving problems here. Somebody has to have the solution.
There's the Nitro he's worried about.
Nitro cell out. No damage, really. I mean, it tags up Fox a bit, but it doesn't hit its mark, and that's mostly because of the trajectory that he chose. But BDS, I mean, their trajectory is now looking towards victory.
Maybe you should let that wall closed, actually.
Licky Fack? No, it's going to be Fish. Oh. Fish is going to round off, John. It's a huge moment here for him. If he can gather control of this top floor, that skeleton key could be that pivotal piece of utility to try and get yet another round over on BDS, and one that they desperately need here. But the case is now down on the ground, and Fish is a lone soul left alive, breathing air here.
Unfortunately, a complete lack of entry power there once again from Oxygen. And as we mentioned before, it's from the break. It's from this difficult entry point yet again because they were not able to get Fish into kind of a winnable top-down position there due to the extended presence that BDS had the whole time. It's pretty much seals the deal on this execute before they even get started with it. It's very one-dimensional. They really only have that one angle to play through. And as a result, it just becomes a shooting gallery very much into the favor of BDS, who shut it down yet again. A quick response. And so far, one lost round they've had on this map, locking in a 5-1 scoreline yet again at halftime.
I'm pretty scared for Oxygen coming into this defensive set. mostly because BDS were disgusting with how they were breaking down Bank, and Chalet for the offense has so many more abusable angles. So I really don't know how this is going to go for OXG as they attempt to hold things down, but yet again, BDS is showing off how talented this roster is. Again, Oxygen are no slouches. Even with Fish just working his way into the roster, this is a talented squad. They are just constantly getting outshined by BDS.
Yeah, unfortunately, yet again, just not able to work their players into a position where they can show that shine. Newer being the most obvious one. He finally gets himself into a good winnable position there on the Bar Games attack we had back on round 4 or so, and immediately excels upon it there. Just sings his way in with 2 winner entries that otherwise would have caused a lost round for Auction had he not picked those up. Also, of course, the great Overwatch back in round number 1, the previous map, but that's been the problem, is they're having some serious issues getting him into a position where he can play out like that just because of the lack of wall breach or some other issues that are showing up here from BDS over the course of the early to mid round there. That's pretty much preventing them from getting to a late round execution point. Now the good news is, of course, Auction going to the defense, so hopefully that should immediately solve some of those issues. You can put Newers on more aggressive positions, more aggressive operators here, and kind of let him do his own thing right from the beginning of the round, and he's certainly going to do that as he's going for the Frost here in round number 1.
Wow. You're a
Fish was
better man than
actually
me, Fish.
Oh, yeah.
I had to try to shoot him through that barricade.
I thought he was on the other side of the wall, like by the stairs or something.
John, when I'm telling you I would have risked it for the biscuit in like 0.5, I swear to God, man. Like, I've been on him so quick. I probably would have died, but hey, that's what it is. Auction going to keep their man advantage. Fish with a very smart neutral play there inside of Mud just to make sure that he stays alive for the remainder of the round. You don't want to get down to the nitty-gritty too early on. Let's see if Oxygen can get off on the right foot here. Fox8 back to his tried and true. Will be on Pulse here inside of the kitchen. Trying to get some info game going for OXG. As BDS is already donned the building. Lem's in the basement right now, breaking up a little bit of the trophy floor.
Awkward angle for the Lems to play if he truly wants to try and look for something on the top end. Meanwhile, it's Renshiro just walking into Newers, who doesn't even seem to be aware of the fact that Renshi's taking this map control. A quick trade from Fish at least prevents it from going completely out of hand. We're back to an even 4v4 very quickly, and now Renshiro also double traded here now by Fish as he picks up a second on the overall round. Yogg's been activated. He knows they've swung in through Solarium and immediately shuts down Shaiko on the inside of that, still with 1 target to go out on the rappel for Solarium as well. Much better read of the scenario here from Oxygen and an immediate shutdown of any shenanigans from BDS. This is the OXG we were missing in previous rounds and even previous maps here. You need to see more of this here. This is looking like a potential quick shutdown for them to get round number 2 on the board. Well, we'll see, of course, if Brede and Alems have any real surprises for us. For Alems, no, as Yaga shuts down 1 more before the end of the round here. And Brede, he's not even in the building, so his odds pretty much bar none right now to clutch this one out.
Keep huffing, Jesse. We might just get through this. I don't know. Oxygen, at least with this round, unless Brede does the craziest thing I've ever seen or casted in Rainbow Six. But we'll have to see. BDS, though, I mean, they're only 2 rounds away from gathering victory here. And really what this is just a round to kind of understand how Oxygen want to do things around the map. And it's pretty clear cut. They really want to hold pressure around the entire map and force BDS to take it away from them. A lot of good angle work. A lot of, not similar strat, you know, not the exact same thing going on as what BDS was doing, but similar vein with the way that they're breaking up the map and making it to where there's a lot of different things you have to be worried about all at the same time. And it's practically overloading the offense. So, unlike Oxygen, where they were not able to really solve this puzzle, it's now BDS's turn. Let's see what they can do.
Auction taking no prisoners when it came to their positioning here. Renshiro, of course, getting away with that opener, but that's pretty much it. Trades across the board past that point. It's mainly Fish, too, that once again does that great work to retake the second floor control and prevent the overall map control the BDS was working towards from getting completely out of hand. Big stuff from Fish right there, and that's what we need to see, of course, with the new pickup on this roster. The immediate impact being made with his insertion. Certainly good news for his potential future on this lineup here, and seeing that impact show up right from game number 1.
It's a necessity, man. When you're in a game against BDS and you have the likes of, you know, like Newers and Yogg and Fox as well, I mean, he can always pop off too, even Dream sometimes. When you have, you know, talented people as your peers here, and you're the one that's positive as a rookie at your very first international event, I think you're doing something right.
Looking pretty good indeed here. This event, interestingly enough,
Fish is always looking good, man. Come on.
This event was used as like a test bed for a couple other NA teams last year as well. Obviously in more like official capacity, as Fish is just on the roster. He's not like a tryout right now. But
last year was crazy.
Yeah, for those who remember last year, TSM had like Snake and I think one other player.
Was it Gasher?
Something like that. Yeah, I think they had like 2 trials for this event last year or something like
Gasher
that.
at the time, I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a bit murky now. But either way,
Snake and Gash aren't even on pro rosters anymore. I think they're both on T2. I don't know if Gash still plays. I see Snake tweet every once in a while, but it is what it is, my guy. It is what it is. Look at these angles here from the Lems.
Took him on the last round, too. He's got some confidence to play in it. Here's the problem. When you're staring up like that, you can't very easily adjust to a sudden aggressive maneuver from the angle you're not playing into. Foxy, in the meanwhile, gets pegged with a flash in the face right there.
We got teleported to the center of the sun.
So he's not going to be looking at anything for a few moments. But all good, as thankfully he's in a pretty safe position, so just backs away from the hot seat. Dream, in the meanwhile.
The build-up.
This is just utility central right now, as everyone's getting hit with everything. Looking at it, it's actually not a whole lot of expenditure from BDS just yet. They've got plenty more sitting in their pocket. They brought 9 flashes into this round. Dream does get down, although not fully killed by the second frag from Shaiko. Oh no, this one, I can't even keep up. There's so much utility coming out. Fish claims one. Foxy gets out there with the Nitro. Shaiko's like, to heck with it, I'm just going in. Takes Solarium control. Should have died right there, but no. Newers goes down instead. Dream's still down on the ground as well. He'll more than likely be confirmed in a moment. Shaiko also getting dropped. The hop in directly through the Kiba and violating the player that throws it as well. Yaga goes down. Fish the next to fall. It's all on Foxy now, as Dream definitely not going to get revived at this point. Look at the silhouettes. You can tell why pretty quickly there. Foxy as well. I believe they've already known his position for quite some time, so they know he's going to try to play this from bottom to top. Unfortunately, not the most workable position for Foxy to play into here. We'll still see what he can cook up. As you can see, quite a few top-down angles where he might be able to get lucky and use out a player or two with that intel. There we go.
Oh, no. He didn't find the planner, John.
2 of them, but like you said, yeah, no planner intel, so that goes down onto the ground. Time starts ticking in the other direction now against Foxy's favor here. 37 seconds to try and work himself up onto it. Realistically, just under 30 now for him to actually get onto the case. And as soon as he ascends to the top of Solarium, bye-bye goes his chances to win out this round. It's BDS up to 6. One more, and the series is theirs.
BDS processed the top floor in such a magical fashion. Although they do end up getting, taken out, at least initially, losing those 2 bodies, the team play with the drone game into the EE1D into the fragnades on Dream was so beautiful to watch. That was some money-making moments right there for BDS. And now they sit at the helm. They're 1 round away from closing this series out 14-3 on round count.
Impressive round count indeed, if it does end up coming true. But Oxygen, saw before, a little bit of life coming into them as of round 1 of this half, so we'll see if they can show it to us one more time.
The gloves are off, 1.5 out on Thorn.
Yeah, true. Nors will go on to that, and we will overall move into the basement here. A little bit more mitigation coming out as well. Fish going to try to deny the walls on the Bandit. We'll have some mixed results come in from that more than likely, because BDS should be able to pretty directly counter that out.
Oh, I love this so much. BDS more than likely noticed that Fish was on Bandit, and they immediately switched over to Mav. It's like, try that one on for size.
We'll just hit the skip button on his part of the ground real quick here.
I'm so happy he brought Bandit, so he's useless.
Just going to be a minor annoyance, basically, at this point. Is like, in fact, like Stokes was mentioning, is going to be able to work himself directly past any of those holds. And Newers, meanwhile, like Stokes said, the 1.5 is out in the Thorn, so that means Newers is going to get a little bit cheeky with the angle work here. Doesn't look like, all of my breath. There we go. No, the spray goes wild for Newers. Not a single bullet connecting, unfortunately, on the Shaiko. So he'll stay at full HP for that.
And that's not one that he usually misses either. And you saw how close he was as well. A hair follicle away from removing the dome of that player. We'll transition into the main portion of this garage, and Liquefact, like a glove when it comes to breaking this down, fits right in. We'll break up those Bandit batteries, keep the left panel hard, and that is for some work potentially down the line. Really, it's just going to be this right-hand panel that end up breaking open just for the rotation. What BDS is looking to do is they're looking to apply pressure around the entirety of this site. If you can get both panels open, not only inside of line, like those 2 panels, but also the garage panel as well, there's really no place as a defender to play in this map. You can really just play on the backside of the wine stock area on the pillar, or you can play inside a blue hallway. If you don't play any either one of those areas, you're either going to get A, utilitied out, or B, somebody's going to shoot you right in your face. So it's going to be really difficult here for Oxygen if they cannot get something going for themselves here soon, especially with this read on this drone. They know Fish is out and about. Hopefully nobody's on his trench already, but BDS is just going to drone it instead. Not willing to flirt with that. And also Oxygen making sure that there was a smoke piece there just to make sure that he could get across if anybody did want to try and hold that down.
Oxygen constantly is trying to look for options to get aggressive, get into the face of the opening clear from BDS, but also being fully realized the fact that it's probably not going to be the best idea in the long term, so giving up those positions before they can ever really build up to anything, it would seem, just due to the masterclass of control we are once again seeing shown here by the BDS roster. BDS realizing, of course, he's got an open wall on the side, just goes for that one. He's even going to allow the map, of course, to pop open some small holes into the one that's currently electrocuted. It's that main wall going into line as well here. Very surprised that we saw him go for a full opening on that, but his name nicely played. Dream, that's 2 rounds in a row now where he's been powerless, really, to stop his own demise. Just getting decked by nades 2 rounds back-to-back. Thankfully, looks like he's retrievable from that position, so they are going to try to go for the revive onto him. That is going to prompt an entry, however, from Lycovac. Moves in, takes out Fish, who tries to rotate back to support his team from his more adventurous position he was playing into a few moments prior. Dream, behind the Kiva, has a little bit of coverage to play from, but at low HP, is not going to be able to get too adventurous on those swings himself. Has to sit back and wait for a moment of opportunity, and it's just not looking great. BDS now knocking out Yogg. More and more players going down. Dream, that's the 4th nade he sustained just in the last 2 rounds, and it's a flawless from BDS as they shut it down yet again. 7-1, 7-2 for a 2-0 overall victory over Oxygen.
Tisk, man. Tisk, Oxygen. A lot to learn from that. Just a lot of things that they could have changed up across the board, even in that last round. Operator selection, not exactly the best for a site that gets hit pretty hard with execution. No Jaeger, no Amai. Every stun and every grenade in the back pocket of BDS, John, landed. Every single one of them. And then they just walked up the site and killed everybody. A huge oversight from Oxygen. Like, I cannot understate that enough. You're going against one of the best teams in the absolute world, and then that's kind of the strategy that you go with. That's just not exactly boding well for you or the future of this success. You cannot just simply shoot BDS. That's not how things work, I'm sorry.
It's not a happy start to things here from Oxygen, but it is indeed just that first game. We'll have to see how Oxygen look to try and improve on their performance here, and hopefully rebound if given the chance, as BDS shows a massive amount of strength here in their own first game of the event. They're looking strong to boom forward, maybe even meet themselves in the finals yet again to try and lift the trophy here at Gamers8 for a second consecutive time, of course, claiming it last year as well. We'll take a look at the replays here real quick, where once again, it's very much going to be the BDS show here in these replays. BDS as well, dominating inside of the early rounds, just like we had seen on map number 1 there too.
Highlight reel adorned by highlight-worthy players, and the majority of them being on BDS inside of this game. And I mean, what a fantastic showcase of what BDS are capable of. This is their very first set in this entire tournament, and they are already playing like this. They are looking to take Gamers8 yet again here in 2023. And honestly, John, if they're playing like this, I'm here for it.
Absolutely the case. Being on the side of Oxygen, like we saw there in the replays, few moments of brightness from specifically Newers and Fish as well from time to time, but it was too far and too in between, unfortunately, to lead to any resounding impact on the scoreboard. He made that crazy round as well, where everybody was thrown every piece of utility they had, ultimately though still to fall into the hands of BDS in the long run of things here. And once more, it's due to that great utility work that they showed in map number 1 as well, carrying that forward onto their attack. BDS with some excellent work. That's going to do it here for us now. We're going to send it back down on the stage. We've got an interviewer waiting with our winners.
Big, almost, I'm not going to say easy win, but a very compelling, confident win from Team BDS over Oxygen there. We are joined by Lems. Last time we had a proper chat like this, I think it was just after you'd won the Jönköping Major, right? You're now back here looking to reclaim the title that is yours. We'll get to that in just a moment's time, but what did you make of your opposition here?
Can you repeat?
Sorry, what did you make of Oxygen? Did you make light work of them there? Do you think it was quite easy?
No, to be honest, I don't think it was an easy game. It's always a hard game against them. They are a very good team. We just have had a very good work, I think, coming into the game. We had a good preparation for the match, a good plan ready, and it worked today.
معانا الامز من فريق BDS بعد ما قدروا يفوزون على فريق اوكسجين بطريقه كانت جدا مبهره صراحه. يعني خص بالذكر انه كنا في الميجر الماضي في ريمبو 6 سيج هم اللي فازوا فيه، ولا ننسى انه السنه الماضيه في جيمرز 8 برضه هم اللي فازوا فيه فريق BDS، لكن الان مع تغيير شخص واحد في الروستر قدروا انهم الان يورونا ايش المستوى اللي يقدرون يقدمونه. سالنا سؤال على السريع انه كيف كان الجيم ضد فريق اوكسجين؟ يقول بكل بساطه كان الجيم يعني ما كان سهل بالنسبه لنا، بس قدرنا اننا نلعبه بثقه جدا كبيره ونفوز الجيم بالاخير.
Alems, do you think that it gives you an extra level of confidence coming into this tournament this year, knowing that you've won it already before? Like, you've been to the mountaintop already. Does that give you faith that you can do it again?
To be honest, we are not thinking about it. We are just playing the game. Obviously, the goal is to win, but when we play the game, we are focused. We are not focusing on the win, on the trophy. We just play until the end, until we tell us it's over.
سألنا إلمز إذا موضوع أنهم هم فازوا في جيمرز 8 السنة الماضية هم حاملين اللقب، هل الشيء هذا ممكن يعطيهم ثقة أكبر في الفوز في هالبطولة؟ يقولون لا، احنا ما نحاول نفكر بالشيء هذا، نحاول نركز فقط على أننا نجيب الجيم ونحاول أننا نفوز فيه وما نحط الموضوع ببالنا أنه احنا فزنا السنة الماضية.
Last question before I let you go. Who is your biggest threat at this tournament?
To be honest, every team here is a threat. Every team here is a very good team. So we will respect everyone and try to beat them all.
الامز قاعد يقول لنا انه كل الفرق اللي موجودين عندنا في البطوله هم يعتبرون تهديد الفريق BDS، انه ما يقدرون يفوزون عليهم بسهوله. احنا سالناه اذا هو في فريق معين ممكن يهددهم، يقول لا، الكل بالنسبه لنا يعتبر تهديد.
You're right, Alems. We've got some amazing teams part of this tournament, but one thing's for sure, our champions of last year made a tremendous statement right here on the stage. Congratulations. I'm sure you'll be getting set up for your next best of three very shortly, but for now we'll throw it back to our desk to pick this one apart.
يروحون فريق BDS الان يجهزون الى مباراتهم القادمه اللي بتكون بست اوف 3 لتكمله الجروب الثاني معنا في البطوله، لكن على طول نروح لمستوديو تحليلي نتكلم عن المباراه.
Thank you, guys. We're live now from the studio. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ginny. We're still on the desk with Fresh and Jesse. You guys are putting in the shift today. Sorry, there's a bit of a tongue twister. But LMS representing BDS in the interview. And yes, it was a compelling win. But regardless, they were very humble, very gracious in their win. I don't think Fresh is going to give you that same attitude, Jesse. I'm sorry, because he's got it out for you today.
Listen,
we can start with the excuses if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't have breakfast. Okay, then what's next?
No, I mean, listen, this was a tough game for Auction. BDS playing fantastically. I thought we really got to see a lot of their players start to step up and shine. You know, we worried, was Chalet going to be one where maybe they're a little bit too individualistic? Thought Shaiko had a great time, Lickifak as well. Bride was 100% contributing, having an amazing stat line there towards that end of the game.
Impact.
Yeah, huge impact. So it's nice to see them playing so well together. Definitely deserve to go on throughout this tournament.
That's the positives, that's what we touched upon. But then Oxygen on the other side, however, these were two very, as much as they were compelling wins from the side of BDS, it does put a couple of question marks in the performance from Oxygen that we've seen today.
The biggest question mark for me is around whether Oxygen can play an international meta. I'm sure in North America, and the way they was playing today, is it felt like they were expecting BDS to play a North American style, which BDS were just never going to do. And I'm seeing Oxygen make decisions that on the international meta, on the meta that's been played at the majors and the SIs, didn't make sense. I'm seeing them try to full clear sites that, you know, on Bar and Gaming or Chalet, where every team now just does a direct take because it's so easy to do a direct take. And I'm seeing Oxygen full clear it, and then when they've done the full clear, not have vertical control, not have nades, not be able to move people out of the positions. And it feels like, I hate saying it, but they've been beat that decisively. It feels like they're 3 months, 6 months behind the meta currently.
Yeah, I was talking to Redeemer yesterday, and he was talking to me about the scrims that they were able to have throughout the tournament, or throughout the last couple of months. And, you know, he talked about how the fact that, like, in North America, not a lot of top teams are scrimming. So they've been mostly scrimming through, like, Challenger League teams and lower level teams that are going in through Element 1. And I think we kind of saw the result of that today. You know, when you don't have that practice, when you can't go against the best of the best, and even, like, the top of North America, it's not really at the same level as maybe Brazil and arguably Europe at this point in time. Going against that tier 2 inside of North America, it didn't really feel like that's been setting them up to have the best takes, the best setups, and I think that kind of lack of the meta is coming into what you were saying, Jack, there.
And that makes so much sense when you look at M80, for example, who spent the last 2 weeks in Poland scrimming European teams to try and prepare for this event. And I think, you know, it's clear to see that it's made a world of difference to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, M80, they took the win against G2. That is something that if you haven't watched the B stream, you're now fully aware of. A little bit of a spoiler, sorry if you were going to watch that bot. But that is actually quite a good day today for Europe in general. I mean, BDS, this is potentially the start for them to get that undefeated run from what they did last year.
Well, see, I was going to get Jesse to hold up all of his fingers for the undefeated maps. I was going to go, you know, BDS 2-0 against Falcons last year, 2-0 against TSM, 2-0 against Team Liquid, 3-0 against Falcons in the final last year. And that would have put him on 9 if he was holding up his fingers. And then we would have got to 11 because it was another 2-0.
Yeah.
They have never dropped a map at this tournament.
Absolutely incredible, to say the least. It feels like this is their home turf. Even though it's not, they're not on home turf, but they're very comfortable in this international competition, which is actually an interesting point because when we were looking at the major, they didn't even qualify.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, talking with kind of the team in the last couple of days here, I think they kind of took stage 1 on the chin, right? They knew that they had kind of one bad game earlier that didn't, early in stage 1, didn't really help them out. Close games to try to qualify for the major. It didn't happen. Then they come in today, and of course they've got, you know, their brand new player, Likifac, the one guy who wasn't here last year when they came to G8.
The Kyria MVP is Likifac.
Absolutely, he played so well, and you know, coming in with this team, I think they've got a really good mindset. I don't think that they've let the rest of stage 1 really get to them, and yeah, you're seeing their dominance as they come back in through G8, and as you said, still undefeated.
He has so much confidence, that kid.
Absolutely.
So much confidence in his own play, in his teammates, and he's very vocal, which normally when you pick up a young player, which is what BDS did, you know, this is only, it's not a year, not even a year ago they picked up Likifac. Obviously when they were here last year, Afal was playing on this roster. So when they've picked up a young gunner, it's like he's so vocal. He's a dominant figure in this team, and he's so confident in his own processes that he can step up. Sure, he's going to make mistakes. We highlighted a mistake of him on the replay, but he's also going to win your games and be the MVP whilst doing it.
Yeah, we've also said coming into this how BDS does kind of rely on certain of these individual players to be the ones stepping up. Shaiko, Likifac being really at the forefront of that. But it felt like today was much more of a collaborative effort between every single one of them rather than 2 star players really taking all the spotlight.
Certainly, and I think these like star players are still fulfilling their role. They're still getting in first. They're finding those entries. You know, Likifac, I think in map 1 particularly, really did kind of take over in the early round and kind of set his team up so that the rest of the players can come in and get their frags. But it is a team effort, 100%, right? And you're starting to see BDS kind of have more of those players contributing on the stat line. I really don't think it's a serious criticism that BDS, oh, they're going to fall apart because they have players that don't pop off the same level of Shaiko and Likifac, right? Like, it's fine. It's the way that they want to play. Sometimes you're going to have more kills on some players than others, and I don't think that's a downside for them.
I think the one thing that BDS did today is they played with that freedom. Talked about it in map 1. It was the same with map 2. What that allowed was actually a Lems to, you know, get his kills, Brede to get his kills. Everyone kind of stepped up, and that's what you want from your team is you want everyone who can get kills, but also everyone does their job and maybe 10-20% more. That imbalance with BDS is like some players haven't quite been doing their job, and then Shaiko and Likifac are like 200%, right?
Yeah.
And they've kind of gone a little bit like that. Still got the star players, but the rest of the players on there are pulling, you know, their weight and doing a little bit more. 7-1, 7-2, you cannot complain.
Absolutely not. That's their first day here as well, going completely undefeated. And as we said, because G2 and Falcons lost, they're going to have to play that elimination match, which is going to be a scary one. But the next match that we have coming up is M80 against NiP. Both of these teams won their respective games. I mean, NiP had an absolute game, to say the least. Like, I don't even know how to explain that in like proper terms, but they had such a good performance here on day 1. M80 up against G2. I mean, that game was going on for a very long time. That was really give and take. It was down to the wire for this one. So in terms of the upcoming game, what are we feeling?
I mean, I think NIP, in a lot of ways, you know, they weren't really expected to be here. Kind of, most people, they kind of see them as the 3rd or 4th team in Brazil. They barely beat Liquid. It was a great reverse sweep in the grand finals of Gamers Without Borders. So I think they're going to be coming in maybe as a little bit of the underdogs for this matchup.
Right.
M80, top 1 or 2 team probably inside of North America. They played very well throughout the last couple of months. So I think M80 would be the favorites, but you know, you've got this whole gap, right? That NIP have had since their last match to prep, and M80 on the other hand, they just came off such a fast game.
Yeah. I was just chuckling when you said M80 North America. Brazilian team, aren't they? This is a Brazilian showdown,
team, by the way. You
what
can't claim them all.
The one North American team here has just been beaten, Jesse. I think genuinely it'll be a good game. I think NiP earlier obviously was setting utility problems. They were playing a big utility meta game against Falcons who couldn't deal with those problems. M80 will just ignore those problems and find gaps. So I think there's a real interesting dynamic coming between these two teams as to who will come out on top, because NiP might have to change the way they played from earlier on today.
Yeah, and they've, as Jesse mentioned himself, have kind of had the time to look at what M80 has been cooking up and what they've been doing, because they finished their game very early on. The M80 G2 game went on for quite a while, so they had that chance to kind of take a little bit of a sneak peek and see what they need to adapt. I think that is probably going to be a pretty big advantage coming into this.
Certainly, and I think even if it's not so much like you're studying them and you're trying to figure out like, okay, exactly what are M80 trying to bring, I think just having that time to chill, to relax, to get the blood pressure down a little bit more. M80 had such a stressful game against G2. You're tired after playing a long 3-game series. That went on for like 4 hours, right, Jack?
Yeah, obviously there's a couple of tech pauses that came in, and they actually went, you know, quite long in the actual games. There was no landslide maps. It was an absolute like slog for the team. I saw them, you know, just as getting food right after the game as well. So they're coming out of it into food and then just straight into another best of three. You know, the energy management there is going to be pretty difficult for M80.
Absolutely, because that game is going to be coming up in 1 hour. So we're going to be heading to a break. Make sure you get yourself some dinner, have a little bit of a rest, because we're going to come back with our final game of today. M80 up against Ninjas.